What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's everybody's favorite. Your favorite straight-looking... Wait, no. It's your favorite gay-looking straight boy. How's it going, everybody? What's up? All right, we are doing a new theme today, which means that you, chat, are temporarily on the back burner. Okay? Now, what color do we want to keep chat? Because it seems very challenging to pick a damn color. There we go. That kind of works, but it needs to be changed. Hold on, the color needs to be different. Yeah, I know. Everyone's chuckling along. That's fine. Have fun chuckling. You read the title right. I ate an edible. I just ate 30 milligrams. So we'll see how this goes today. Hopefully it goes well. But who knows? It just seems hard to see the messages. How high is he? Not really at all. I just ate the edible like 5 minutes before I started the stream. I'm jealous of your edible, Hunter. Yeah, you should be, because it's gonna hit me like a fucking truck on stream. Okay, so ha ha ha, 30 milligrams. Was it a gummy? Yeah. Yup. I'm gonna go smoke some weed to get Yeah, I'll show you what they look like. This is a 18 and up only stream, okay? Hold on. My first time I ate a 200 milligram. Yeah, that's probably street crap. This is heavy duty shit. Thank you, Piao Piao Meow Meow, for the $2 donation. I hope you refute more anti-vax nonsense. Today I will be. And thank you for being our first donor. Speaking of which, if you want to help support the channel, consider putting something into the super chat. It's going to be greatly appreciated. Now, we did get a PayPal donation yesterday that I didn't get a chance to read because I think that they sent it late. So, this comes from Rui Augusto. Thank you for the near $7 PayPal donation. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you are watching on Twitch and you want to donate via PayPal, that's the only way you can donate on Twitch right now. You can attach a message and it will be read and responded to live. Long one, takes a lot of courage to put your career on the line for what you believe in. You deserve the support. 2 questions. Well, thank you, man. 2 questions. 1, I've seen lefties in the American Twitter/Twitch politics sphere using Portugal as the perfect example for their idea of socialism. I would have to look into that a little bit more before I can make like a conclusive thing about that. As a Portuguese person, I find this really dishonest and not at all representative of Portuguese politics. Interesting. 2, anything to say on the fact that the UK might suffer from food shortages related to a lack of workforce in the food industry due to migrants leaving after Brexit? Dude, I hate when I get these questions thrown at me that I just can't answer. I don't know much about UK, dude, but either way, I really appreciate the donation. And also, thank you to Danielle Wallace for the 260. Hey, Hunter, loving your early streams since I'm in Scotland and I'm now able to catch them instead of watching the VOD the next day. Keep up the great content. Hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. And our final PayPal donation, $10 from Joseph Filipazzo. Thank you very much for the donation. Thanks for doing what you do, dude. Thank you, man. And thank you for supporting what I do. I really appreciate it. Umbreon, thanks for the $5. Hunter, if it makes you feel better, I got lost in a Circle K the first time I got high. Do you mean Special K? Do you mean big? Wait, what's Circle? Am I an idiot for asking this? Crypto, thanks for the $5. Use this money to buy more weed. Dude, your PayPal donations go to buy more weed, okay? Smoke a J or a bowl, you'd be more properly high or something, at least 100 milligrams. No, guys, you're not eating. I'm getting medical stuff. This is like top grade shit. It's 30 milligrams is a fuck ton, okay? I used to get smacked off 5 when I was younger. All right. Okay. Whew, we got some stuff to do. So what I'm thinking is we'll probably go over some of the more serious topics before this edible really starts hitting me, and then we'll go over some more of the React Minecraft type stuff. So, let's see. No, I got lost in the gas station, Circle K. Oh, shit. I don't need weed to get lost in places. Hell yeah, brother. Take 7 billion milligrams. Yeah. Okay. One moment. As soon as I was about to start, I got a Discord notification. Want to make sure that we're all good. I will have my email up. So if you do decide to send a PayPal donation, it will be greatly appreciated and will be read and responded to live. Doesn't that sound nice? Hunter, do you like blunts or hemp wraps at all? I've only done a blunt like once when I was really young and I got too high and I freaked the fuck out with my friends. That was like the only time I ever did a blunt. Usually I just smoke joints or do edibles. I do the bong occasionally, but I'm trying to do the bong a lot less because it's not very good for you. Wait, you have children in the home and doing the marijuana? My children are not doing any marijuana. God, no. That's why I'm down in the basement in my own secluded office with the door shut and locked. In my own home, buddy. Hunter, more like blunter. Okay. You know what? Why? Stop making me feel insecure about my 35 milligram, okay? It's gonna hit me hard. Okay. I hate that too high feel. I don't know. It's been a really long time since I've been quote-unquote too high. Yeah, I tweaked out a little with a blunt. Yeah, I can understand that. Just wanted to see it pop up. Okay, it's already starting to hit me, so let's jump into this, okay? Once again, there is more conservative infighting. That's right. If you need any more quality entertainment today, then now you fucking got it. Right here, right now, okay? The conservatives are fighting amongst each other. I talked about this briefly yesterday about now that Donald Trump is no longer president, conservatives don't have a central figure to hold them together, and now they're just going at each other's throats like starving, vicious dogs. Candace Owens, everybody's favorite liar, is currently being sued. She has been hit with a defamation lawsuit asking for $20 million. And this is not just a lawsuit from like some random liberal that got triggered by the facts. This is Kimberly Klacik, the conservative, a former Republican congressional candidate in Maryland. And she is currently suing conservative commentator Candace Owens for $20 million in damages over an Instagram video Owens made in June in which she alleged Klacik had committed campaign fraud, money laundering, illegally used drugs, and was a madam of a strip club, according to the court documents. Jesus, Candace. Honestly, I'm kind of happy to see her finally being held accountable for spreading just bull-faced lies. I mean, are you serious? You make it sound like this Kimberly Klacik girl is Walter White behind the scenes. Money laundering? Illegal drug use? Damn. Kimberly, you better call Saul. The lawsuit filed in Baltimore County Circuit Court alleges Klacik lost a book deal had politicians cancel fundraising appearances with her, and lost a contract with a nationally recognized vendor after Owens posted the video June 22nd. In the 44-minute Instagram live video, Owens said Klasik's charity was illegitimate, that Klasik was a stripper at a club owned by her husband, and that she misused campaign funds. So some pretty significant accusations here. Really, really significant shit. I mean, this isn't just like, oh, she was once a stripper, lol. This is like, you're committing a bunch of illegal activity that you should go to jail for. She has not taken down the video despite multiple letters from Klasik that the allegations were false. The lawsuit alleges Owens continues to support and encourage the harassment of Klasik. You know what I say? I say let them fight. Just go for it. Let this Kimberly Klasik cuck waste all of her money suing Candace Owens, and let Candace Owens lose a bunch of credibility in the conservative eyes, and maybe some money too. That wouldn't be that bad. Turns out there are consequences for lying. The right doesn't infight as much as the left. I know. It's true. Klasik has since released multiple statements on her Twitter. She has falsely accused me, private citizens, and businesses of federal crimes, so I would like this to play out in court rather than social media. Oh, fuck. Dude, Candace Owens is screwed. So, it looks like Owens' video has over 1.6 million views accumulated in the lengthy Instagram video posted by Owens, which has more than 1.6 million views. Shit. In the video, Owens says she's not an investigative journalist and could not confirm any of the criminal allegations. Thank you, Candace. I appreciate you giving yourself that plausible deniability. I just popped 200 milligrams. That's insane, but okay. Baseless character assassination has no place in political dialogue, Klasik's attorney said. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is one of the classic just two morons fighting, and you just want to see them fight. Go for it, man. Throw the shade. Sling that shit. I don't care. Candace Owens is a bumbling moron, but this Kimberly Klasik girl is a pretty big bumbling moron also. And that kind of leads me into this next section of our stream where we are going to be talking about vaccines. Because Kimberly Klasik, although it's wrong to have misinformation spread about her, and I'm glad to see her taking Candace Owens to court, Kimberly Klasik is, how do you put it? No angel herself, okay? She makes a ton of dumb fuck videos, most specifically, a recent video spreading bullshit about vaccines. That's right. These conservatives are so obsessed with the vaccines, who even knows what's happening in their minds, right? They wake up one day, it's Bill Gates trying to depopulate the world. The next day, it's a fucking, I don't know, X-Men serum to turn you into a mutant. It's never consistent, but who cares? So, as I'm doing research on this Kimberly Klasik girl, I come along this video, posted quite recently, only on August 16th, fully vaccinated Fully vaccinated woman in Texas passes away. What? And here's an example of someone who is fully wearing a seatbelt who died in a car accident. That means you shouldn't wear seatbelts. All right. Take it away, Kim Kardashian.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Kim Klasik here. So, sad news coming out of Texas, and not only is it sad, it's a little bit confusing, and it's important to know. That is a woman in Texas was fully vaccinated that recently passed away due to COVID. Apparently, she struggled for quite some time. She did have underlying conditions, but she was fully vaccinated, so her guard, I'm sure, was a bit down. But this raises a lot of questions.
So now, like, most of what she said there is kind of true, but then she's going to just go on her, like, spiel about not trusting vaccines. anyway. So, like a good little lad, I looked this up. I looked up the story to read about it, and it's true that she did have underlying conditions. She had COPD, pulmonary hypertension, and diabetes. Despite being fully vaccinated, she passed away after a 12-day battle with COVID. That's really sad. So yeah, really sad shit, but like no one says that the vaccine is going to be 100%. No one says that if you get vaccinated, you're never going to get COVID. But we can look at this from a statistical level and see that if you get the vaccine, your chances of ending up in the hospital dying from COVID are significantly lower.
Questions and prayers to her family, of course, but it raises a lot of questions, right? Because we've been hearing over and over again from the CDC, the Biden administration, and everyone else that if you are fully vaccinated, not only does it not cause a fatality, we have been told that it is a less severe reaction that you'll get from COVID, right?
Okay, so this is like so 2D thinking. This is some of the most okay, whew. Let's try not to get triggered. All right, we're gonna have a good old-fashioned good vibe stream today, okay? But holy shit, can you be any more of a fucking dumbass woman? Oh my god. The Biden administration and the CDC have been saying that if you get the vaccine, you're less likely to die from COVID in the hospital. But here is one woman who died in the hospital after getting the Yes, of course. People are still going to die. It's terrible. But who knows? She may have not lasted as long as she did had she not got the vaccine. We don't know. But what we do know is from the available data that we have, your chance of actually ending up in the hospital and dying from COVID once you're fully vaccinated is significantly lowered. It doesn't mean it's never going to happen. This raises no questions at all. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, posing this as some kind of gotcha, some kind of, we need to start asking questions, it's bullshit, and it's designed to fearmonger. That's it.
That it is a less severe reaction that you'll get from COVID, right? So the symptoms won't be as much. Some people will be asymptomatic. Some people will have just mild symptoms altogether. So the fact that there are people now dying after being fully vaccinated, we all have some questions. Now, at the end of this video,
this is literally the exact same as now that someone died after wearing a seatbelt. I mean, the CDC said that wearing a seatbelt reduces your risk of dying in a car accident. Why did this person die in a car accident when wearing a seatbelt?
I'll put the screenshot up so you guys, if you want to take a look at that, and if you want to Google it any further, you definitely can to get the entire story. But at the same time, this is very alarming, right?
Wow.
Because we have a lot of people that are fully vaccinated, I think, that have kind of let their guard down. We also have a lot of people within the media and on social media, let's be honest, that are blaming the unvaccinated for the Delta variant spreading rapidly. They're blaming them for
I don't know. Are they blaming them for the Delta variant? I mean, we do have data that shows that vaccinated vaccines help in reducing the Delta variant also. That it's not quite as strong. Let's go ahead and take a look. From Yale Medicine. Special agent of the deep state, most likely is what they're going to say. So, right now we have the Pfizer. This is the one that's been fully confirmed by the FDA, okay? They go through all of them, but this goes over it. In April, the company announced the vaccine had 91.3% efficacy against COVID-19. Thank you for the follow. If you follow on Twitch, you're especially dope. It also found to be 100% effective in preventing severe disease as defined by the CDC, and 95.3% effective in preventing severe disease as defined by the FDA. So, okay, that's probably where they're getting the stats that say you're less likely to die from it. That would be a severe effect. Another study not yet peer-reviewed we just looked at this one yesterday. In August, the CDC also published studies that showed mRNA vaccine protection against infection may be waning, although the vaccines were still highly effective against hospitalization. In one CDC study, data from the state of New York showed vaccine effectiveness dropping from 91.7% to 79.8% against infection, prompting the Biden administration's recommendation for booster shots. So let's see here. A number of studies have focused on the vaccine and the mutations. In early May, the Pfizer vaccine was found to be more than 95% effective against severe disease or death from the Alpha variant and the Beta variant. As far as the Delta variant, I might have to turn down my alerts again because you lovely, wonderful people hitting that follow button. Hell yeah. I can still see when you follow on my screen, okay? Thanks for the follow, Boy25. Thank you, Sanja Boyo. Thank you, Comradewo. So, let's think here. Even though we have other studies that hold on. Let's finish reading this part first. 80%, as far as the Delta variant, 2 studies reported by Public Health England that have not yet been peer-reviewed showed that full vaccination after 2 doses is 88% effective against symptomatic disease and 96% effective against hospitalization. So it sounds like we're getting some it's true that we're getting a little bit of mixed results here. Some are giving these really low numbers, but these are from like in other countries. This is not, it seems to be that the general consensus is that this is like 90% effective, give or take. But let's go ahead and let's just assume that this is right. The worst case scenario, this one thing from a study in Israel saying something about 39% against infection in its population in late June. Now, I'm not sure where they're getting this information from. This sounds like a pretty big contradiction to most of the other data that we have. But let's go ahead and say that even for the sake of argument, that let's just say this is correct. Let's just say it's only 39% effective. Even if that were the case, you should still get the vaccine. I'd rather have less % chance of getting COVID. Especially when we fucking know that there's not really any adverse side effects. However, for the most part, it's around 90 to or I would say around 88 to 90% effective. So if you're on the fence about getting vaccinated, just get vaccinated. Do it, man. Come on. And what's funny too is like the vaccine thing, I feel like in a way, this could totally be on the conservative side. Why wouldn't conservatives be like, fuck yes, us, America, once again, we are #1 in producing an mRNA vaccine. This is significant. This is a big hop forward here. You would think that conservatives would want to be proud of this. You'd think that they would want to jerk America raw over this. You have another chance here to flaunt that America's the best, Chad. Like, I don't understand how they're just so hesitant about it. Didn't, like, Trump have his Project Warp Speed or something that played a role in making the vaccine get developed quicker as well? Let's get you back here, chat. I'm sorry, I forgot about you. I redid the setup, so that's why it's not up yet right now. There it goes. Put that there. So yeah, I feel like this could totally just work for conservatives, but whatever. No, instead it's the fear-mongering nonsense about how here's one time this woman died who had a bunch of underlying conditions, then she got COVID, and even though she was vaccinated, that speaks against the vaccine. Okay.
Continuing to spread. We're blaming the unvaccinated for basically everything that goes on as far as COVID, right? Now that the kids are going back to school, a lot of the parents are saying, why aren't the teachers being vaccinated or being made to be vaccinated? There's a lot of school districts that aren't saying that, but they're making the kids wear masks. Now, we also saw that there has been an uptick in kids that are catching.
Wait, what is she? Is she saying that teachers aren't required to wear masks? Because I looked this claim up and all I could find was multiple states doing the complete opposite. New York City teachers and staff required to get COVID vaccine with no opt-out option. I say good. I think that's good. Unless they literally have a health condition that would harm them more by taking the vaccine. So yeah, I'm not sure what... Is she just, like, saying stuff? Does she just make stuff up completely out of the blue? Is she just like, now that teachers aren't getting vaccinated, it's really upset... Wait, huh? Who... did I miss something? Did you eat an edible before making this video, Kim?
The virus, especially the Delta variant, but it's still a very, very small amount. I think the percentage was 0.004. That is 0.004. And so it's a very small amount of people, of kids that are catching COVID, but they are. Okay. So we have to acknowledge that, yes. But at the same time, the fact that we're not making teachers get vaccinated, I think that's a little confusing. Because now, as we know, the Biden administration wants all federal employees to be vaccinated. They want all U.S. military members to be vaccinated. And if you have a federal contract with the federal...
Wait, what are you talking... Illinois announces teacher vaccine mandate. Illinois requires educators... Oh, wait, this is Illinois. It looks like Illinois is the latest. However, Indiana... Oh, fuck you, Indy Star. I'm not paying $1 to read your bullshit. Fauci is saying that teachers should be required to get vaccinated? Teachers union supports vaccine mandates. Does she just make something up? The only thing I can see is that there might not be a mandate for Indiana teachers. And you know what? My guess is going to be because that's something to do with the Republicans. How much you want to bet? All right. Now that Pfizer vaccine is no longer an emergency, I want to find out why this one wouldn't be doing it. Okay. I don't even see anything. I see the opposite. Indiana universities. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about. Everything I'm clicking is actually pointing back to their people saying they should be required to get the vaccine. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, when you're a conservative, you're basically already living in your own little fairyland. Like, you are literally living in a virtual reality that you have constructed for yourself. Like, almost to the level of a simulation. I mean, to these people, like I said, the vaccine's deadly, the deep state's involved in everything, all the media is conglomerated against them, there's big tech censorship, the world's falling apart, we're just like Rome before before succumbing to the degeneracy or whatever. Like, these people, they live in a different world, so I guess when you live in La La world, you're able to just make shit up. Okay, that's like such a weird thing to make up too. It just doesn't.
Federal government, they want you to be vaccinated as well. And so there are a lot of different private companies and corporations across the country that are forcing their employees to be vaccinated or to be subjected to weekly testing.
Good. Based.
Now, this is very interesting because with all of that said, again, we have been told that those that are vaccinated would have mild symptoms, but they never once said that they would end up on a ventilator and it could lead to death. They never once said that.
Stop.
They've been saying the exact opposite the entire time.
Please stop. Stop it. Come on. This is like a fucking 4-year-old's argument. You know what? Scratch that. That's offensive to 4-year-olds. I believe in you, 4-year-olds. You have the ability to construct a more solid argument than this. If I could ask this woman one question, it would be, have you ever heard of the word averages? That would be my question I would ask her. Do you recognize, Kim, Karen, that there is a difference between the majority of people that get the vaccine end up like this? Like, do you recognize that there's a difference between that statement and if you take the vaccine, you will 100% always be immune. You will never suffer from COVID again. You won't even get the sniffles. If you so much as get a fucking allergy attack, then you can just consider this vaccine completely useless. No, Kim, the reason that they don't say you might end up on a ventilator in a hospital bed is because you might end up on a ventilator in a hospital bed if you don't get vaccinated also, you dipshit. That's the crucial crux right there. God damn, man. I saw people laughing at it in chat earlier, but you know what? It's true. This is 2D thinking. We're watching some fucking Super Mario Bros. Thinking right here.
Opposite the entire time. Apparently, this woman that passed away isn't just the one and only. Apparently, there are other cases where fully vaccinated people are unfortunately passing away as well. So, now we have people that already were skeptical about the vaccination.
You also have people that are young that didn't get the vaccine and then die.
Basically saying, you know, if this is happening, I definitely don't want to get the vaccination. It looks like it's not even going to help me. Now, again, this is something that I bring up all the time. And this is what I think is very strange about the CDC or the World Health Organization that weighs in. The fact that we never talk about having a healthy lifestyle, having good eating habits, a good diet, and making sure that we exercise. The fact that they never mention that, I think is very bizarre in this whole
It's too easy. It cannot be this easy, guys. The CDC has an entire section on healthy living, on healthy weight, food safety, on smoking and tobacco use. They have it already, lady. Okay, before I use the term whataboutism, I want to just make sure I'm going to use it correctly, okay? Whataboutism, also known as whataboutery, is a variant of the tu quo logical fallacy that attempts to discredit an opponent's position by charging them with hypocrisy without directly refuting or disproving their argument. So this is by definition whataboutism, what this lady's doing. She's not addressing the CDC argument about the effectiveness of the vaccines. She's saying, well, what about talking about a healthy lifestyle? She's trying to charge them with hypocrisy there instead of addressing the direct argument. That is the whataboutism fallacy. And it's even more fucking hysterical because it proves she did nothing. She could have literally just Googled CDC healthy lifestyle. 7 strategies to live a heart-healthy lifestyle by CDC. Ask CDC healthy living. Promoting health for adults from the CDC. What are you talking about, lady? This is what's so funny, is they're like, isn't it hypocritical that the CDC didn't do this thing? When in reality, the CDC did do this thing. They're just too stupid to look it up before they make this dipshit video. How do you manage to weaponize your own ignorance to own the libs? This is, whew.
Thing, right? Because we know currently 85% of those that have passed away from COVID that are ended up in hospitals on ventilators, 85% have been obese. and they had underlying conditions related.
You know what the CDC should do to address COVID? Start saying that fat people are shit. That'll cut them down.
To obesity. And so why aren't we talking about making sure people get out there and get active? Why don't we see commercials of people, riding bikes and saying, you know what, a great way to also fight COVID is to be active and take responsibility. Oh, maybe that's why they're not talking about it. Personal responsibility. Yes, that comes with this.
I don't know. Okay, when I get it's situations like this that I don't know how to react, because my initial response is to just be infuriated, because it makes me hurt. It hurts my brain, and it really hurts my heart to know that there are people that are this fucking stupid. Like, I want to believe that people are smarter than this. So it's like the argument is so dumb, it hurts my head, gives me a damn headache, but it also hurts my heart for humanity. She's like, personal responsibility. You ever think of that one? Lib cucks. Got him. First of all, the irony of you bringing up personal responsibility, conservatives have been refusing personal responsibility throughout this entire goddamn pandemic, with the refusal to wear masks and now the refusal to get vaccinated. So I'm sorry, Kim Kardashian, you're in no fucking place to be rambling here about personal responsibility, when in this entire this entire COVID thing has only been further propagated by your type. That might sound great. Am I going to get canceled now too? By conservative types.
You are personally responsible for your health. And maybe that's why they're avoiding that conversation. But as we know, that if you have a healthy diet, if you stay active, that also helps in this situation. So I just implore everybody to try to do the same thing.
Is she a health coach? What is the point of bringing this up? Guys, I know COVID's really sad. I know that your grandma's dead. I know that you've been out of a job for 7 months. Have you considered maybe riding a bike and taking some damn personal responsibility for a fucking change? Meanwhile, she's the one propagating fear of vaccines to try and sway people from getting vaccinated. What's actually even funnier is this kind of behavior is so predictable. It's actually been documented in studies. So in stressful times, people listen more to anecdotes than to facts. And what was especially interesting, and how I feel this really applies to COVID-19, it talks about how usually people are more likely to actually listen to facts. Usually. But when it comes down to health concerns specifically, anecdotes really take precedent. So it turned out that under normal conditions, people generally stuck to the facts, actually preferring them to anecdotes, which is a good thing. Amen. Yes. Primarily when there is a low threat severity or it's a non-health issue, people tend to take cold, hard facts into account rather than personal accounts and stories. But when emotional engagement was high in times of stress or threat, and particularly those involving medical and personally relevant issues, people switched their strategy. They relied less on facts and more on anecdotal evidence. We found that people are more likely to consider personal anecdotes than fact-based information, especially when it deals with medical emergencies. Specifically, we show that when an issue is health-related, personally relevant, or highly threatening, then decision-making is compromised, and people tend to rely on anecdotes. This has a high importance in the current environment where everyone is concerned about the coronavirus. And they talk about how this might have something to do with like a fight or flight thing gets activated where you're thinking with adrenaline, you're very emotionally driven in that moment. Yeah, it's possible that during these times logic dissolves because we're in a flight or a fight or flight kind of consciousness and just trying to protect ourselves. Yeah, I think that this kind of thing plays really well with anti-vaxxers, and this is just a good thing to understand because you can kind of guess it, but it's good to see this borne out in actual research as well. And this is a good thing to keep in mind when talking to people who you know that are anti-vaccination. I have people in my own family that are like specifically anti-COVID vax, and it can get like, I mean, I've had to like tone back my aggression because they're my family, so it makes me really frustrated when I feel like my family is being, like a family member or whatever is being like kind of silly. And so yeah, like it happens, but it's important to remember that the best way to go about this is to just hear these people out, ask them questions, try to understand where they're coming from, because, and this is, again, I'm saying this is specifically for if you're talking to someone one-to-one, if they're like your friend or something. If you're like me and you have a platform, then no, I'm going to just mainly still be saying, go get fucking vaccinated. I would love to debate an anti-vaxxer on here, but if you're talking to somebody, that, like one-to-one, a friend, a family member, then the best thing to do is actually to just hear them out and make them feel understood and heard, and then offer them your response in a kind way. And listen, I'm only saying this is based on something I read a little while back. This is not how I usually go about shit. I actually need to like work on this, because you see how I am on my channel. How I am on my channel is like when I'm arguing with people, like I am arguing with that person and I get really intense, and sometimes I start disregarding like thinking like this is family or this is a friend, and I'm just thinking about like, you are so wrong and I want to say why. And that works okay on the channel if I'm like debating someone in Discord or whatever, but if it's like a family member or a friend and you're talking to them one-on-one, it's not a good approach. And I made a mistake by taking that approach when I was talking to my family, and it literally, like, I had to like apologize and stuff. It wasn't worth, hurting a relationship with my family members or a family member because of a disagreement about the vaccine thing. Like, it's family. You have to put, politics can't come first. Although this is a tough one for me because it's not just politics. I feel like this is like fucking health related. This could be life or death for some people. I mean, what I don't understand is why it's always just the anecdotes that play well for the like vaccine hesitant, about people dying from the vaccine, or not even dying from the vaccine, dying after still getting the vaccine. There are a ton of stories of people that are like only 30 or 40 dying from COVID. I can point you to a shit ton of those anecdotes. So I just don't understand. What about the vax for pregnant? Would you want your wife to take that risk given it's still new? If my wife were pregnant, well, she's already been vaccinated, but hypothetically, if my wife were pregnant and wanted to get vaccinated and wasn't sure, I would say get vaccinated 100%. The research that we have so far shows that there's nothing to worry about with vaccine and pregnancy. So yeah, a lot of these vaccine hesitant people, at the end of the day, it really is feelings over facts. It's fear over reason. It's sad, and it's fun to clown on, like, on these people, but like, when it's your family, when it's someone that you're talking to one-to-one, you're gonna want to take a different approach if you sincerely want to change their mind. And like, I know for me, I get really heated too sometimes, because for me, I really care about this subject, and I also really care about my family, of course. So, I don't know. Definitely riskier to get COVID while pregnant. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if there's anyone here anyone who wants their boomer grandpa or whatever to get on and talk to me about not getting the vaccine or whatever, I'll chat. If you are currently watching on Twitch, consider putting something in the PayPal, guys. I would love to read your messages. We also do have a Chuck Bartowski. Thank you for the, I think that's coming up as $5. It's different currency, but thank you for the $5. I don't like swearing during sex. Who wants to hear that kind of language, especially from a child? Oh my, you know, I had a feeling this was going in a bad direction as soon as I started reading this. McLovin, thanks for the $5 donation. Do you agree that people who won't get vaxxed because they don't trust doctors shouldn't go to the doctors once they're sick? Yeah, 100%. Those people are so insane about this shit. There's actually a video I think we're going to look at next about people who are sick after not getting the vaccine.
And that is, get out there. If you're not already active, you know, go for a walk. Go do something different to get you going. Because as we can see, like I said, 85% of those that have been in the hospital for COVID or that has passed away have been obese. And that is another thing that we should be focusing on. And I would think the World Health Organization would mention that.
Wait, does this woman like... I mean, hey, if you want to take drastic measures, remember when the BLM stuff was going down? And then we had all those, that minority of riots that occurred? I'm pretty sure a couple Wendy's got burned down. What's this woman's opinion on BLM? It's just a joke, okay. How do I get into your Discord? There's a link in the About section on my Twitch, like, About page. There's a little link where you can join. And then once you're on, just jump into the waiting room voice channel, and then I can pull you in. Preferably in the waiting room text, you'll let me know what you actually want to talk about.
Thanks.
Oh, that's the end of it. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, and then she flashes the little article here. Does Kimberly Klasick want to come on? Talk a little bit about these vaccines? Well said. Being active, spending time out in nature, and eating in a sensible manner should have been their main focus. Could you imagine what their narrative would have been if Fauci actually came up was like, guys, COVID, it's especially dangerous for people that are overweight. Everyone get out on your treadmills, start running around, try to cut back on your fattening food. They would be like, Dr. Fauci, he's a plant from the deep state. I'm gonna gorge myself of all the fucking deep-fried, grease-filled, bacon-filled cheddar cheese chips every single second just to spite him. Fuck you, Marxist. That literally would have been the exact... That would have just been... That is a real-world interpretation of what would have played out had Fauci actually came out and taken that as their main focus. Give me a break. They'd be like, this is America, land of the free. You can't control how much bacon I eat. I'll stuff bacon up my asshole before I submit my guns and my Bible, bitch. All right. Anyway. Keep talking, Kim. My cousin had her hometown turn out for a prominent citizen who passed. 6 of her fully jabbed friends got COVID. 3 died. No media mentions. Is this being... I'm not trying to be too mean here, but like, come on. Really? I had a friend that died, and I didn't see it on CNN. Strange, huh? That's why at 65, I won't be getting the 3rd dose. I already got the 1st dose and the 2nd dose, but the booster shot, fuck you. Ha! I'm taking a principled stance. Okay, Susan. That's why at 65, I won't be getting the 3rd dose. I feel like I'm pretty lucky that I survived the first 2. I had a reaction to both. Nothing to be alarmed about. However, it did affect me for a couple of days and even weeks later. Mild headaches. I love that. I love how she like defeats her own argument in the matter of like a single succinct boomer comment. That's so satisfying, actually. So you won't be getting the third dose. One first contradiction, because you already took the first 2. It's like, wait, what? Then what's so radically different about the third dose? Then you say, I feel I'm lucky I survived the first 2. Oh, shit. That sounds pretty intense. Did you have, like, were you, like, what happened? Did you have, like, an allergic reaction? Did you suffer, like, a stroke? Did you lose, like, the ability to move your left arm or something? Holy shit. You're lucky you survived the first 2. But then she says, but nothing to be alarmed, however. It did affect me for a couple of days and, just even weeks. Just, mild later little headaches. Nothing to worry about, really. But I'm not getting the third one. I'm lucky I fucking survived, okay? Whew. Susan, you gotta appreciate the brain of a boomer. It's like a roller coaster. Thanks, Kim. Psalm 91. It just reads like a parody too much. Thanks, Kim. Psalm 91. Trust God and have faith in God to keep you safe. This is that classic story. This classic boomer story. I keep referencing boomers because this is also, God, it's too perfect. I feel like it just can't, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that this is real. But anyway, you guys remember that story? Maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't know how many of you grew up in like a religious household or whatever, but I did. And this was something that was sort of a joke, but also something to sort of prove a point about like how God works or something, right? Because I remember the pastor actually telling this kind of funny joke story to the church. And the story is that there's a guy, I know there's going to be people in the chat that already have heard this because I'm sure it's super fucking famous. But there was like a guy drowning and he's praying saying, please God, send help. Please God, save me. Save me, God. And then, a couple minutes goes by and then a big fucking boat comes by and they say, yo, give me your hand. We can help you. And the guy drowning says, no, I don't need any help. God's going to save me. And then the boat's going to say, all right, well, we have to be on schedule here. See you later. They leave. God, please save me, God. Save God. Send me. Keep me safe. Save me, God. Then suddenly a helicopter comes by. Hey, we can toss you a rope right here. No, thanks. God's going to save me. It's all right. You can be on your way. Adios. Adios, senor. Flies off. God, please. Why? I'm trusting you. I'm having faith. God, keep me safe. And then eventually the guy drowns. And then he comes face to face with God and says, God, I was praying. I was crying out that you would save me. Why didn't you save me? Why didn't you keep me safe? And God's like, dude, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. Right? So, haha, boomer joke. Oh, wait. To make it, it still needs to be appealing to the millennials and the Zoomers watching. And God said, dude, I sent you a fucking helicopter and a row boat. Pog. How do you do, fellow kids? Yeah. Okay. How could anyone fall for those pathological liars? Trust your life with them? No. Yeah, yet they trust their medical advice coming from this nutcase. Maybe Kim would like to come on sometime. We can chat. All right. I think the edible has landed. I don't know. I'm definitely feeling like pretty energized. All right, we got to do some we got to do something funny now. Hold on. Pew Pew Meow, thanks for the $2. Love to speak with you about the anti-science crowd. Yeah, man, maybe at some point. There was something else I wanted to talk about here. Hold on, wait. There was something. Hold on. Oh. We got a donation from Maze. Thank you, Maze, for the $5. Can I ask, why are black people disproportionately anti-vax as compared to whites and Asians? So it's my understanding that the reason that this is the case is because if you look at the history of the medical institution, the medical institutions have not been very kind to black people. A lot of these medical institutions supported certain claims. It's like racist beliefs at the time. And I think that some of these institutions have even been accused. I'm just saying accused. I don't know for sure, but have been accused of like doing experiments on black people. So the medical institution has a pretty yikesy history with black people specifically, a lot of these medical institutions. And so that's why I think disproportionately black people seem to have a little bit of hesitancy there. But to be fair, I think that I understand that, but I still think that that would be a dumb reason not to get vaccinated. 100%. And I would argue that one I would argue that one for sure. Because the medical institutions have made fucked up mistakes in the past, but you can't say that because they once did that now this is somehow like a way to hurt black people. Like, everyone's taking the vaccine. Thank you, Demon Doggo, for the $2. Have you seen the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer? I have not. No. Let me see if this guy wants to talk. All right. Because he made a nutcase claim in my fucking Discord, and I can't tell fully if it's... We just need vaccinator drones. All right, let's get up some Minecraft for a little bit. Because this edible is starting to kind of hit me now. All right. Chat, you can vote for me. Do you want a fucking dark video we can react to? There's one that popped up on my feed about like this TikTok mom like killing somebody or like killing her kid. It looks really fucking scary. It's like a documentary thing. I thought it would be something fun to watch on stream. I mean, unless you just literally want to sit here and watch me play Minecraft for how beautiful it is. Let's see here. How we doing over on Twitch? I know we're lagging. Don't worry. This always happens when we first load up Minecraft, okay? Something funny? Okay. Have there been any recent, like, debates that we could at least just kind of, like, go over a little bit? Oh, is Booksmarts talking to Lauren Southern? All right, we'll do this. Because I want to actually tune into this for a second. We are lagging, I know. You're going to get lag for a second, guys. Don't go anywhere. It always smooths out. This is just what happens when I first load up Minecraft. Does anybody have any advice for me on... Isn't there a way to, like, do a stream where you stream the stuff from a different computer? Where you have, like, a laptop that's going live while it's the, I don't know.
Merit in considering that.
So Booksmarts is a guy who gives, like, rhetoric advice. And he's talking to Lauren Southern about, like, optics and shit. I'm not too sure, like, what this is all about even. But let's watch it and see. Also, we need a brighter background, so let's get this playing here. What the fuck? Okay, that was cruel.
I mean, like, you'd have to point to specific videos. I don't think you could say all of your videos are yikes when I have videos that are, like, talking about, you know, I have videos just talking about basic relationships of how to make girlfriends, you know? So you'd have to talk about specific videos.
Your ones on immigrants or migration.
When you propose it in that way, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be able to disavow everything I've ever said in the past. You'd have to give me specific points that I would have to go through. And I hate it when people propose it that way. Like, are you going to disavow your whole past? Because I can't do that because I know it's a complex layer.
Let's pause. Because that's not at all what I'm saying.
You're right.
I'm saying,
that's
like,
not what you're saying.
You put out a lot of videos
where
you were constantly giving takes on immigrants and on migration. And all of those set the foundation for you having one video that's really, really bad, and then people putting these pieces together as to who you are as a person. And it won't matter how many, like, little cups of water you throw on. You can't compare the volume of a cup of water to the ember that started that. You need to look at all the other...
That's what I was about to address.
Okay, go ahead.
That's what I was like in the middle of that when I was saying the project that I've spent the most money on out of anything I've ever done, and the most time on, risked my life on, genuinely almost spent 5 years in Turkish prison making it, was my documentary Borderless on immigration, of which the conclusion is that immigrants are a victim of a horrible, corrupt system, and of which I lost a ton of alt-right subscribers who told me I cucked out for immigrants, when my conclusion was actually that there are a lot of Europeans, whether they be ethnic Europeans or not, people who live in Europe, that have suffered as a result of mass immigration, as well as immigrants, and particularly illegal migrants that are suffering as a result of illegal trafficking, getting coaxed into coming to Europe on a false promise by traffickers who are saying they're going to live up the high life, and then they end up sleeping under bridges in France because they didn't go through the proper migration process. They threw out their passports on the advice of traffickers. They can't speak the language. They can't get a job, and their lives are destroyed. I spoke to some of these people who were like, I want nothing more than to go back to my home country because I was sold a lie, and it's horrific. These are human beings. They just want to live. I would probably do the same thing in their circumstances that they did if I were told, hey, you can go to Europe and you can become a soccer star. You can live in a beautiful house, and Europeans, they just have everything. It was so fucking sad, man. I was in Morocco, and there were a bunch of men that had been living up in the mountains there, like off nothing for some of them years, trying to get on boats over to Spain. And they were telling me about how they were going to become rap stars and soccer players. And I'm like, fuck, these people are going to be living under a bridge when they get there. And they don't know this, and they've sacrificed everything. And I think they're absolutely victims of this system as well. And there are, you know, I've never been opposed to just migration, and I've never said that, but there are aspects of this illegal migration chain that are completely corrupt and ruining lives on all ends. You know, you have to have checks and balances so that extremists don't come in. You have to have checks and balances to ensure people can have a job. When I've gone through the immigration process, you have to prove I'm going to have somewhere to live. I can speak the language. I can have a job. Otherwise, you're setting someone up for failure. So, like, that was the project I spent the most money on, which was very humanizing of migrants. But the thing is, none of my critics watch it. And that was 3 years ago. So to be like, Lauren's had this sudden change, like, no, I've slowly changed my views with information and grown in my observations. But if people don't watch it, I mean, Borderless has over 1 million views. It's just not the people that hate me that are watching this, unfortunately. But a lot of people watched that. And I can genuinely say I've probably done fucking more to de-radicalize the far right and see immigrants as have them see immigrants as human than any of these leftists who just scream at them and say they're all fascists and Nazis for having legitimate concerns about illegal immigration, terrorism, and problems that it causes.
When you set it up like that, yes, because doing that's not going to convince the people that are on the anti-immigration side. And I think what you're learning as well is that you can't turn the tides of this by dumping a bunch of money and time into a single documentary, because that didn't work out either. So with the understanding
what do you mean that didn't work out?
You just said that wasn't able to turn the tides, that people still believe these things about you.
It changed a lot of people. I'm not making this documentary to make people not think that I'm a fascist. I'm making it because it's what was actually happening on the ground.
To communicate.
Got educated on that.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed the documentary and changed their perspectives.
But your entire point in bringing that up was in response to me about like kind of trying to turn this tide, which is why I'm focusing on that, is like...
No. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it didn't accomplish that. And you're even saying with the farther alt-right people, it wasn't enough to convince them. Instead, they said that you were cucking out for the other side and yada, yada. So
some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
Enough
for you to note it. Convince
people who want to listen. I am trying to portray my views in a reasonable, palatable way for people. I am trying my best. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want to listen to you, they're not going to. So I can do everything I want to. And if someone in the far corners of the alt-right wants to be like, Lauren, I refuse to see these people as human. They are literally barbarian savages that just want to kill all people. I can say as much as I want, and I'll put it out there. And if they don't want to listen to me, they're not going to listen to me. That goes the same for people that want to just be like, Lauren views all migrants as barbarians and savages that just want to kill white people. If they want to think that, I can say as much as I want, and they're not going to change their mind. The same way that you make videos, and everyone makes videos on the internet, and it still doesn't convince all these people. Like, what do you expect of me as a creator? Do you expect me to change the whole tides of politics for people that don't want to change? I can do what I can, and I can try to be palatable and do my best to portray information accurately. But at the end of the day, I am not there turning these people's necks. I can't force them to believe one thing or the next. And I don't think I should be held responsible for forcing them to do so. Neither should you. Neither should other creators on the platform. Like, hey, ContraPoints, why are there still alt-righters? Why didn't you convince them all to stop being alt-right with your videos? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a ridiculous standard to hold someone to.
Sure, but that's not what I'm getting at here. So in part, we're talking about, you said a lot of things in the past that were very much so in line with some of the people that you were then unable to convince out of that with this video, with this documentary, right?
No. What thing did I say that you are the most offended by that I've said in my immigration videos in the past? Like, what upset you the most? Like, let's deal with a particular
Can we focus on like this line?
Because I need to know what you keep just talking about a general, like you said things. What things did I say? Like, I want to address it. I want to, like, let's see particularly what point I put out there that I haven't, worked to change people's minds on. That was a horrific point that has caused a lot of damage in the world. Like, what point is that?
If you don't, if you can't think of any point, then I'll move off of this because I don't think we're going to make progress on this.
You should. No. You should have to say what, because you can't just speak in these generalities. You did bad thing. You said bad thing.
It's not a debate.
But this is why I get so frustrated talking to people who want to criticize my past, is they actually know fucking nothing about me or my past so often.
I do. I had to do a lot of research before this.
They just know Lauren bad. Oh, no. Okay, well then give me a quote, man. A single quote that you think is
we're gonna move off
about
of this.
Immigration.
That's totally fine.
No, give me a single quote on immigration that I said that you think
Lauren is badly raging right now.
I'm not saying that I probably haven't done it, but I want to know if you actually know, or if you're just doing this Lauren bad thing.
Kind of rhetorical.
No, I do know Lauren. I'm going to stop because then we will continue with this. And I don't want to argue with you about these things. So I'm going to present criticisms. I'm going to walk as far as I can with you. But the moment we hit a wall like that, I'm going to move off of it because I have tons of other stuff.
Because I am convinced.
I hope I'm wrong. It's a wall for me.
I hope I'm wrong, but you said you've done a lot of research on me, so you should be able to. If I'm as bad, or
I've done enough to know how this goes. I've done enough to know how this goes, and that's not where I want to go.
Okay, so how does this go?
So we're going to get in a long, heated exchange about some particular quote rather than talking about the broad general thing that I'm trying to bring your attention to. And you won't let me talk about the broad general thing because you want to go into a specific thing that you can defend, that you could fight against, that we're going to get caught up in. And that's not the conversation that I want to have.
The problem is But no, but this is the problem
fair.
is Lauren's, people say Lauren bad, everything she did before, Lauren bad. And then most of the time, that opinion is just derived from the general consensus that I'm bad and not actually anything I've said or done. Can you see the problem there?
I understand that. I know that. I can empathize with that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And that's not what I'm doing. So if that's where you think I'm going with it, then we don't have to continue on this one.
Well, like people in the audience are even, they're like, okay, like if she's as bad or was as bad as he's saying, like he should be able to give a point, specific horrific point that she said. And like, can you see how that's really frustrating for me?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just accept the premise that Lauren's bad for the past 6 years.
If you don't think that you said negative things about immigration,
that I've made.
If you don't think that you've said really negative things about immigration, or you think that I should,
what is the negative thing I said?
Or you think
dude, this is not a
okay, well, we're gonna move on because we spent a lot of time on this, Lauren.
No, dude, have you, what videos? Okay, what videos have you watched?
Booksmart's tone
what of my videos have you watched on immigration?
I'm not going to give you another step in that direction, Lauren. I have to be responsible with you.
I don't want to.
I didn't want to argue with you. I promised I wouldn't debate you. We've gone too far.
How am I supposed to know? Why would we keep going with you questioning about my life when you're making it appear as though you have done no research on it? Like, why should I let someone do an inquisition on whether I'm a good or a bad person, or I'm approaching the world from a good or a bad way if
I didn't
he
say
knows
good or
nothing
bad
about my past?
I didn't say good or bad. I said you had negative opinions about immigration. You thought negatively about immigration. So hold on.
I said about immigration.
Hold on,
you're
Lauren.
Now
you're looping. So, Lauren, I have a whole section of this where I have a ton of quotes from 2 of your videos.
So, my personal opinion here is that Lauren's coming off as pretty aggressive. She sounds like she's getting really mad. Booksmart's to a Lauren fan is going to sound like he's weaseling and refusing to give her an actual example. So I can, like, for Lauren probably feels as if she's winning this debate right here because he's not answering the question that she can push him on, that she feels she deserves an answer on. But, like, Booksmarts is also overall correct because it sounds like they came here to talk about something different, not to get into a argument on something super specific.
Comments I've made on illegal immigration in my past being wrong. And so I do need, because I do not to this day believe that criticizing illegal immigration is a bad thing, I do need to understand what those comments were. There are probably things you could point to that I've said in the past that I would disagree with today, but speaking on it on a general level, I'm not going to be able to go and be like, yes, that's bad. I'd have to see specific points that I made, to be like, okay, I've changed my perspective on that, right? So it is difficult to have this on a general, broad conversation.
Yeah, and to just give my final little parting thing on this before we move to like quoted stuff, which I think you'll enjoy more. Remember that when we were talking at the very beginning, you were frustrated with like, I put out this documentary, I put a lot of hard work into this, put a lot of time into this. It said things that like would totally go against what the criticisms of me are, and people didn't watch it. People refused to watch it. It didn't work to change people's perception of me. And
a lot of people did watch it.
Yeah, sure. But that wasn't the point you were making. The point you were making was like, yeah, it's still got 1 million views, but it's not impacting these people who like don't want to listen, or these people who have these negative opinions, right? That's where the conversation was. And that's why I was going to like, well, there were other bits of content you've put out, other things that you've done. And those are the things that people are using to kind of put together the pieces about this thing. And that this one documentary isn't going to be able to put that fire out. But you know, I understand that if I was meant to sit here and go point by point with you, if I was meant to sit here and debate you, if I was to criticize your positions as wrong and I had some alternative to offer, then it would be totally reasonable to expect the quotes and to go back and forth on it. But that's just not the conversation that I want to do with you, because I don't want to argue with you about stuff. So if you don't feel like that's an accurate framing or that's not in line with reality, we can move on to the other stuff.
Okay, so I understand what you're trying to do, and
I think Booksmart's general point here is that just if she's done something good, it doesn't just make the past stuff that she said just go away. I think that might be the general point there. People have been known to get mad when they talk to this guy. I think it's because he's just got something about his voice. what do they call him on DGG? Don't they call him bookfucker? They like him, though. He's cool at the end of the day. He gives good advice with rhetoric.
And where they're starting from is something that is like completely off. Like you're never going to be able to agree to it because it's something that's not true. It's not supported by facts. And this gets back to something we talked at the very beginning. In some advice I would have is like, you often have to like be the bigger person and steelman that, as shitty as that sounds. Some of these people don't deserve it, but others might, where you have to like look deeper into that, be critical of it, of like your own first like impression of it, and look deeper as to like, where is this coming from? What quotes could Booksmarts have been talking about here? Or what videos could Booksmarts be referring to here? Because if you did that, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have like had such like a big heated exchange too, because you probably would have realized where I was going with it. But you know,
can I address that quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I understand as a public figure that is my responsibility to try to understand people, to try to listen to people, even if they're being unreasonable. But if you do consider that from a slightly different perspective, you have to steelman the gaslighting about you. You know, that would be the most insane advice to give someone in an abusive relationship, for example.
Come
you know, their partner is telling them they're evil, they're a piece of shit, and the therapist is like, listen, you have to steelman that. Think about where you could be a piece of shit. Think about where think about where you cheated when they didn't cheat. Like, could you have possibly cheated on your partner? They keep telling you cheated on them. I know you didn't, but could you steelman? Like, that's insanity driving for someone, especially when they deal with it 24/7. And I've seen this happen with Destiny, and you have to understand it's a very human reaction. This is why he like just gets pissed off. He's like, these fucking people, it's like, you guys act like idiots. You know, they call him names, they call him racist when he's so obviously done so much to combat the far right.
Like, he's not gonna like being compared to her.
Is him. Quite frankly, he won that debate on immigration with me, right? And he still gets these accusations. And at what point does a creator have to accept the gaslighting for the sake of making the piece? And at what point are they allowed to have a human reaction and be like, a human and a rational reaction and be like, no?
That sounds really charged.
I promise this will be the last thing, because we will keep going back and forth for forever. If somebody's in an abusive relationship, definitely that's not the advice to them, right? If they have somebody in the relationship who is gaslighting them, most certainly not the advice for them. But like you mentioned at the very beginning, if you're a public figure, unfortunately, this is the advice. It is the world we live in. And like you and Destiny have both realized, Destiny in I think it was 2020, he said it'll be the year of rhetoric. That's because he in part because he spoke to me. And I told him, like, this is a reality that you have to kind of understand. And if you really want to connect with people, it's a hurdle that you have to get over. And luckily it's a hurdle where like a huge part of that is like in your court, and there are things that you could work on. Sure, there are people who will refuse to listen, but the people that refuse to listen aren't the people that you can really account for. They're not the people you're trying to convince, because no amount of change on your end is ever going to solve that. But there are people who we can convince, and we want to figure out what that group of people is and how we can change things to be palatable to those people. And so that's where you focus. And every time the focus moves from that group of people that we can reach to like, oh, but the people that never listen, they're so fucking frustrating. Like, yeah, it is. But we cannot focus on that, because it'll take the wind out of our sails for like improving everything else. We really have to focus on the people that are like, they're only 5 steps away from like sort of agreeing with us. If we just change the palatability a little bit, then they would like it. And that's usually where I like to focus, because there's more positivity there. Like even in this conversation before I came here, there were people retweeting stuff like you saw that are just going ballistic about it, or that think that like, I'm here to be a part of your retribution tour, or I'm here to make you look super palatable, or whatever. And like, that's not what this has been so far. And I would hope that's not what this will become, right? Like they haven't even heard a conversation yet and they're upset about it. And those are the people that I can't be worried about, because I can't convince them. But for the people that do watch the conversation, I want them to realize that I hear you, and like I see you, and like do what I can to account for the people who will listen long enough to like get it, right? And so it's easy for our view to shift over to those awful people that will never listen, but it's never productive, right?
Okay, so let me just confirm something from you, because with the framing, I kind of assumed when you said, what have you done to alleviate your critics' concerns about you? Of course, when I think of my critics, I think of some of these crazy people. So you're slicing those off, and that's not an aspect of my critics, is what you're saying.
They're not going to be the helpful ones.
Or like that is an aspect. They're not the ones that you're focusing on who I should be talking to.
Like Sometimes they can be, right? Sometimes they are pointing us to things that it only takes a little bit of effort to understand where they're coming from, even if they're dumb fucks on the surface. Sometimes, but yeah, for the most part, no. The people that will refuse.
Hey, Kai, thank you for the donation. I see that you said it didn't have your correct name. Kai V, thank you so much for the donation. How do you go about talking to your family to get the vaccine? My dad is in the hospital now because he didn't get it, and I think they're more wary now of what I say because I'm more on the left and trans. Damn. Dad's in the hospital. I would go back in the VOD a little bit, and I talk in depth about that a little bit. Just try to understand where they're coming from. Make them feel heard, but you also need to like explain to them as best you can where they're wrong in the most respectful way, whatever you think would work best with them.
You can try new material and really try to get at them, and eventually you will find something that's convincing, and it'll be completely unintuitive because before you had tested that thing and saw that it worked, you were under the impression that they were completely unreachable. They weren't worthy of consideration, yada, yada. But it may be that you'll have a conversation with Serfs or somebody else where you're like, oh, weirdly enough, they really listen to me when I say X, Y, or Z. Like maybe that's how I communicate this to people. That's not what would work on me at all. And to get back to the... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know what's funny? I've actually thought about this, and I was thinking to myself, because I asked Serfs to do a debate in real life, right? And we're both in the same city. It'd be great. And I actually reckon if Serfs and I sat down for a beer at a bar, we would probably agree on a lot. I've noticed this. I know that sounds weird to a lot of my audience, but I've had this happen so many times with far leftists where once the ego element has been taken out of it, the online posturing element of I have to disagree with you, there has to be that tension, you'll actually find you agree on a lot more than you disagree on. But unfortunately, so much of that ego and online posturing aspect makes you focus on the disagreements rather than on the points that you could find common ground. And it's tough. It's tough because I do think there's so much social pressure to have certain opinions in this culture, this society we live in. And how we overcome and navigate those social pressures is incredibly challenging, and those optical pressures is incredibly challenging, which is why I appreciate what you do with your analysis of debates. I find it fantastic, even if we have disagreements here. I find it really interesting because in a way you are trying to bridge that gap between extremes and radicals online and showing and even just normal debaters online, whoever it may be, bridge that gap and showing them how to communicate better, which you ultimately need because no one's going to agree on something if they're speaking two different languages and going past each other. No, I do think that's a good thing you do online. But yeah, I still disagree with some of your analysis of me.
Of course.
After all of that.
And like to comment on one little thing that I promise we'll agree. You noted in one of your videos that like you're not able to be one of these people that just says progressive stuff that they don't believe in because they know that it'll get them something. It's like those are some like keys to the kingdom. Like if I just say this thing, if I just do this thing, I'm able to get the people away from me, get them off of me. I'm able to like appease the horde a little bit. Like I thought with this conversation that if I were to start off by maybe 20% of it, like I told you in DMs, I think like to just start off with like some of the criticisms or some of the bad stuff that's happened, that maybe that will get them off of me. But half measures don't work in that way, right? Like you can't say like, I'm pro BLM, I did all this stuff for it, I put the black thing on my page, but I gotta say that BLM has some, like it doesn't do what you wanted it to do. It only works in the purest form to use those keys. And so yeah, so like where to start with this video. So you were trying to reach some people who were critical of you. How well do you think you did that in this like coming back video? How well do you think you were able to reach those people and speak to them? People that would have been critical of you that would listen through the whole thing.
These are good questions.
I honestly, it was hard to gauge an analysis on that because I had been so far removed from the online sphere for a year there. I felt like when I stepped back in, I had stepped into an entirely different world. I was like just flabbergasted by how much the political scene had changed. I do think a lot of people were like excited to give me a chance, but they were excited because they thought I had become a leftist and didn't realize that I was still a conservative, just open to hearing other perspectives more and deliberately wanting to hear other perspectives more. Like I say, I really only listen to leftist content anymore because I really want to understand their views. I really do. I'm trying very hard. And if you're someone that's followed me for a long time, you'll see that in my content. But if you aren't someone who's followed me for a long time, I'm still right-wing piece of shit, conservative trash, whatever. And this is what I was thinking when you said half measures. You were like, half measures won't cut it. And I know that. And I also, that's part of the reason that I will never do this big apology tour, because I know that they don't actually want me to apologize for, oh, you did X, Y, Z. They actually want to apologize for me being a conservative. If I come out and I say I apologize for one quote I said in a video, but I still have a lot of problems with illegal immigration, they're going to be like, well, what the F was that apology for? You're still a Nazi, because they inherently believe that is still an extremist view. In a lot of cases, not everyone. I think there are some people that are more reasonable. That's why I talk to Destiny. I think he's really reasonable, and I really respect his analysis of politics because it's very truth-based. And a lot of people wonder, they're like, why does he talk to Lauren? Why does he give her a chance? We disagree on a lot. We do, Destiny and I. But I think he is willing to talk to me because he's experienced what I've experienced with so many people lying about him, and it's really difficult to understand that dichotomy and really difficult to...
She's like trying to shield herself.
You know, kind of I think there's a level of understanding there of having so many people lie about you and having to address false claims and not really... having to get to a point where you don't give a shit anymore. So I said a lot there. I literally completely forgot the initial point we were talking about.
You're totally fine, because we're moving on to the next thing anyways. So like, remember before how we were talking about how like the people that won't listen or the people that are like hard stuck, we can't focus on them for our strategy, right? We have to focus on the people that are at least willing to watch the full video, or these reasonable people that you're talking about that are more of like the Destiny-esque approach to things. They're going to hear you out. I think like...
What's up,
this is another instance of like when you're talking about those other people, the people criticizing me, it's very easy to characterize them all as the people with the worst aspect of that, where they don't want to listen to you, they're not fucking hearing it, whatever. But there's a huge group of those people that dislike you that like will listen to you. And I actually think that like that's probably a bigger group. Most people just have like a passing belief about you because they've only like seen an audio clip or something. And often for those people who make up like a huge number of these people, granted they're not the people in your DMs harassing you and stuff, those are the crazies. I think there's still a huge group of people that have something on a second monitor that'll just be like, oh, Lauren Southern's come around. She's sounding a lot more reasonable nowadays, right? And those are the people you probably want to focus on, and they definitely do exist. And I think that like this video in particular could have been made in a way that better got at those people, even if it came at the cost of like reaching the people who are already on your side. Like little decisions, like when in the video you mentioned the toxicity of online communities, and you're talking very broadly about this and how it's a both sides thing. The visual elements were all like CNN, MSNBC, people on Twitter that are like talking negatively about conservative people. There was one version of both, one version of a news channel and one version of a tweet that was like a version of Republican people or conservative people being that way. Yeah. But the video was meant to be directed at people who are not already believing you or who are not already on your side. These are the kinds of decisions where like, oh, we could have included different kinds of screen grabs to show that like you better understand where this is coming from on both sides. And that could have easily been a way to reach more of the people that, you know, you're trying to, right? The people that are on the other side.
For sure.
Oh, trust me, I know it's a problem on both sides at a far deeper level than most people ever will. But yeah, I guess, you know, that's something that I'm not thinking. That's a problem with the way that I think and I approach things. Is I really just, in general, my approach to things isn't like, how am I going to psychologically manipulate these people or to make them more on side with me. I really just try to say things how I see them. And like I said, I know that's a problem, and I know I have to try to be balanced.
What is the... Okay, we got gaslighting. Now we have this psychological manipulation. What? Getting through to an audience via rhetoric or whatever is not psychological manipulation. Okay.
there's probably a lot of leftists that feel that way as well, and that's why the two of us can't communicate, because they won't give me any wiggle room to be like, okay, come on, man, what do we agree with on here? It's a tough, all I can say to that is it's a tough thing to overcome, and it's probably going to take me a lot of time. I'm not gonna stop telling the truth. I'm not going to stop being a conservative at any point. I've had this, unless I'm like completely proven wrong and completely have my mind changed on all these issues, at which point I'm going to follow what I believe is truthful. And even if that were fucking communism, I would do that. I just don't think I would ever be convinced to be a communist, and I don't think I would ever see those views as useful or productive.
Tough to guess. You never know.
Okay, I have gone through the whole mental process of thinking about what it would look like if I became a leftist, right? I know I could never do that artificially. I know people who have done it artificially that I talk to this day. And it's not an easy life to live. At the end of the day, you have to, I have to live with myself. I have to live with my soul. I can't say things I don't believe in. I'm just not capable of it. And that has screwed me over in a lot of ways in my life. That has really put me in tough positions. Mm-hmm. But I can't fucking do it. I can't say things I don't believe in. And I've thought about if I were to become a lefty, and I think I'd make a very good lefty. I think I would do a good job. I thought about how I would portray myself, all these different things, just as a fun thought experiment. And I think, and doing that as well helps me understand leftists a little more and where they're coming from. And those are little thought experiments I do. But a lot of the criticisms you have of me and my approach are things that I have personally thought about a lot, but it's a tension. It's difficult to address these problems. And I've kind of decided at the end of the day, one of the best approaches is just talking about my views in action. Because I've seen so many people that try to do this switcheroo where they say, I apologize for everything I've said. And even in that video I did where I was ambiguous with where I stood, if you do these apologies and you don't actually get deeply into your views and show you articulating them in debates and off the cuff and how you really feel, people will just be disappointed. I don't think this is my views, XYZ, I apologize for XYZ, actually does anything. It's just one comment. What? It could be completely fake. It could be just made up to make sure you don't lose your platform or something. So I would like to think that people watching me in action, talking about my views, making new videos about them, having debates, that's how I want to do it.
Yeah.
That's how I want to do it.
So again, we've pointed out something that we know for sure won't work. So just saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe in this stuff anymore," that's not going to work. That's nice, huh? But there is room in between, right? Like little things, like I said with the having a montage. Like one of the things you're trying to communicate to me right now, I've spent a lot of time watching more lefty people, and I'm going to continue to spend more time watching lefty people because I want to understand that side of things. You could have demonstrated that way better if in your video you had included like snippets from both sides, because what lefty people talk a lot about are the problems that conservative people have or conservative media has. So to have a complete absence of that communicates the opposite to people. And so it's little things like this that I think that you could change to get better at communicating the actual hard work that you're putting in behind the scenes, and to have a payoff for that, and to begin to actually change people's minds. I think focusing on things that are not going to work isn't going to get you there. And you have to focus on like, where has it worked? What are good apology videos? Or like, what are these tours that actually work? Because a lot of people have certainly had that. I think looking at other success stories or looking at other ways that you could get better at communicating to those folks and really having them in mind when you're creating stuff, rather than I want to say what I want to say, right? Like getting away from that habit of saying what you want to say in exactly the way you want to say it. And like, how can I word this in a way where you're going to understand me? What are the terms that you understand? What are the things that you're sympathetic to? And how can I wrap this up in that to get you to see where I'm coming from? I think that's going to be like the move for you moving forward. And this video presents tons and tons of opportunities like that. This is just one small piece, but like all throughout here, if you meant to speak to that audience, it almost feels like you're not considering them in that video. And that's why that video, in my opinion, didn't change a lot of the minds of even reasonable people behind the scenes who I know watched the entire thing, because it's not doing the things that they were expecting it to do. And those expectations would have been things that like, I think you could have understood by looking at past successes or by listening to the people who are criticizing you that are actually reasonable. But because I keep hearing about the unreasonable people that that criticize you. I have an assumption, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how many people you talked to who had criticisms of you that you felt were reasonable. Like, did you do a lot of that before releasing the video?
Sorry, let me just think for a second, because there's a lot. I feel like some of the, I'm going to address that last question, don't worry. I feel like a lot of the things that you're,
that was like
people in general, that you're articulating, people have an issue with me. What they're asking of me is too much. And you know why? Because I can't, I am incapable of playing a game. I'm incapable of apologizing for things I don't feel bad about. I'm incapable of...
Let's pause.
Maybe,
let's pause. Let's really pause. Yeah. Can we start with the answer so that I know if you were talking to reasonable people with reasonable expectations of you? Because we're already starting with like unreasonable expectations of you again.
Okay, so people with reasonable criticisms of me. Okay. So I have watched videos, and it's been a while. Like, I've watched video critiques of me from leftists of old videos I've made, and I've cringed because I've been like, oh my gosh, I got this fact wrong or that fact wrong, and they're totally right there, and holy shit, I need to totally reanalyze my approach. But to me, I don't really... To me, doing the right thing is making a new video and proposing my new beliefs and my new views. And... yeah, I'm trying to... Okay, so for example, here's a big video I made a while ago on marriage. I was getting really annoyed with a lot of people, assuming when I talked about traditional marriage that they thought I was suggesting you have to get married right away at like 19 years old, otherwise you're like a degenerate. So I made a big video saying like, no, please wait for the right person. Please do like proper analysis. Promotion of conservative traditionalism doesn't mean get married this second to the first person you meet. Like, this is an absurd idea. And making a video like that instead of, I just don't think I could honestly make a video that was like apologizing for me not giving enough context here and there, because I don't like apology videos. I don't really feel bad for growing in my beliefs. I think lots of young people go through these problems in their head with politics. Where do I stand? You know, you're blind in a room and you're touching the walls of some extremes to try to figure out where you are and orientate yourself. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think people should have to apologize for that political journey. So long as they... You don't
think that, but we're not talking about what you want. Remember, what you want's very different.
Like I said, I can't do something just for other people. I have to really believe it myself. So what you're asking may be entirely reasonable. It may be the proper approach that I should take. But I have difficulty overcoming.
Can someone help me? Why
the only difference between me and a lot of people's political journeys is that I had mine in the public eye from when I was a teenager. So when I look at other people that are like shitting on me, Lauren, you have to do this, you have to do that, I know they were in my DMs 4 years ago, like spewing crazy, like farther right stuff than I've ever even said, and they're like, oh, but I'm different because... You know, actually, you know, to me, I do not feel that going through a political evolving online is something I should apologize for.
You don't
I just don't feel like that. And you're right. Maybe it is something that a lot of other people feel. Maybe that is the case. But I can't do things just for other people. I can't. Maybe that's something that's... So maybe that's something I need to learn to do, but I can't. I can't do it.
Was this video just meant to be self-serving? Because my understanding was it was for those people, right? And if we want to build it for those people...
those are my honest beliefs. Those are my honest beliefs, though.
But remember...
I can make that video then, because my honest beliefs are...
You can give your honest beliefs.
I want to...
And you can make them rhetorically sound for people that they're meant for. Both of these can happen at the same time. I think there's some give on the ideal way that you want to word them. And obviously there's going to be, because the ideal way you want to do things, as we've learned, like does not mesh well with everybody all the time. And
you're not wrong. But does rhetorically sound to you involve saying things I don't believe is the question?
No. And that's why I asked, like, who have you talked to in your life that you feel is reasonable in their criticisms? And I can't, like, it sounds like we don't have a lot of those. Destiny is becoming one of them that I think you're trusting a lot more.
He is one of the few people that if he makes a criticism of me, I will honestly listen to it. In the political sphere anyways. I have family and friends, obviously, that I talk to all the time, but they're not They're not in it with this world all the time. So if Destiny makes a criticism of me, I will know that he has probably actually looked into the information. There's a reason when people say Lauren shot immigrants with flares, Destiny won't be like, yeah, why did you do this? Because he actually cares about the factual information. So his critique I would take quite seriously. And earnestly. Yeah.
It's just that, like, when I reach behind the scenes, I find reasonable people not saying that you shot flares at boats. I find people that say, oh man, hold on. I won't give examples because I don't want us to get into a back and forth on that specific.
Do you know Counterpoints?
Yeah, I like him.
His name's Connor. Yeah, so I appreciate his critiques of me. We have lots of conversations behind the scenes about rhetoric, and he is always like, Lauren, he says a lot of the things you do. He's like, you need to stop being a fucking troll. You need to not just piss people. We talk about this all the time. So I do have reasonable people that I talk to, and there's back and forth there, disagreements, agreements. But what you find reasonable in criticisms of me and what I find reasonable are going to be different as well. There are people I can respect and people that I can listen to. That doesn't mean I'm going to 100% accept their analysis without pushback. I don't think they'd respect me if I did that.
Right. And that's, to be clear, not what I'm asking. I just think you need to accumulate more of those people and then take the sum total of what they're saying. Because the other thing is, once you get a critical mass of those people that you trust and they're all saying one thing, even if you disagree with it, you have to invite this like extra sort of like step of, okay, 80% of the people that I trust, that I respect, are telling me that I fucked up here. Like, maybe I fucked up here. And if I did fuck up here, assuming that's true, what are the next steps from there? What do I have to do to rectify that wrong? And if you're fine with whatever the rectification is of that wrong, like you're like, oh, that's easy, I could do that. Like just correct like a stat in a video. Like, I'm okay with that. I don't think I was wrong here, but if all it takes to be right is to correct the stat, I'm willing to compromise on that, right? There is compromise you can find once you talk to those people.
So this is interesting because I think behind the scenes, people that actually know me and have watched a lot of my content that are more on the left, like I have a lot of friends that are leftists that are just like, please don't say publicly, like, and I get it. I completely get it. When they actually look into my video, they're like, you actually. So for example, Counterpoints, he's very reasonable. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Very reasonable guy. So he watched through all of my Great Replacement video, which is probably like one of my most controversial things online, right? And then he watched Sean Vid's criticism of it, and he was like, you know, your video is actually quite mild, the things you said in it. It's really the public association and some of the optical things about it that made everyone freak out about it, because the comments that are made in that actual video are, here's like the Pew Research on immigration data. Some of the data may be a bit off, but you know, that happens in videos and you're happy to address that. But the overall point is actually not that different from mainstream media assertions of mass immigration, demographic changes, all these things. And the assertion at the end, there was no assertion of a giant conspiracy or we need to get rid of brown people or anything like that. The assertion at the end is, should we consider the aspects that this could and the impacts that this could have on culture? And Counterpoints was like, okay, so I think you took a bad optical approach, and because of that, people have completely misunderstood the video, and part of that is your fault, Lauren. I think we should do a breakdown and analysis of this video today to do exactly what you've basically said, is, you know, break down what is correct in that, what is incorrect, and go through it today in a modern context with someone like Counterpoints, who is very I'd say reasonably critical of me and would have questions for me. So we actually plan on doing that stream in like 2 weeks. We're just planning it out right now.
And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Just look for that. Or like, even better, find somebody who doesn't come away with the same opinion that Connor had, but is still somebody that you respect. Like if somebody else says, yeah, optically it's bad, I would agree with Counterpoints. But at the same time, like for me, listening to you talk about it in hindsight, about how all I did was Google it, search for this. I didn't know that this guy was associated with this and did this. Like, oh, well, that's a huge problem that people would focus on. And I know that you don't care about it, but like other people that I have talked to in the background most certainly do. And it's the same with this boat thing. You're focusing on like the dumbest criticism of it that is obviously false, because that's easy to like, well, of course they're saying something that didn't happen.
Criticize me. That's what people's main criticism is. The main one. I know, because I see it every day. And I see it from big creators, not just like random 0 follower crazies, right? I have gotten that criticism from reporters at MSNBC, right? It's not like a small, random, crazy thing. It's the main criticism, and it's false. So of course, you know, if I don't reactively reject that premise, then you know, I'm going to be spending the whole time arguing on something that's false. I have to reject it before the conversation can continue.
You can, but you have to pair that with other stuff. You have to pair that with other concessions that are going to get the people that will listen to you onto your side. So you can say, like, first of all, I want to get this out of the way. I didn't shoot a fucking flare at a boat. Don't say I shot a flare at the boat. You can say X thing that was bad that I did, and I see where you're coming from on that. You can say Y thing that was bad that I did. I do see that. I do see where you're coming from. You can say Z thing that I said that I did, or that I did that was bad. I totally agree. But don't say that I fucking shot a flare at a boat, because it's on video. You can see that that's not the truth, and I'm sick of hearing it, right? Like, there's a balance to things. And I think that working towards that balance is going to be rhetorically beneficial for you, and it's going to keep people listening, because they might go, oh, she's not being crazy about it. I mean, she knows that she fucked up in this way and this way and that way, and I definitely think that. And I guess I was wrong. She didn't really shoot flares onto a boat, but she did do these other things, and I don't like those other things. And at least she knows that. I'm going to keep listening, right? And then you keep them hooked, and then you get to like work through everything, right? It's give and take. You get to correct misinformation while also, and this is beneficial to you too, like getting people to like confronting the real criticism and people that aren't fucking crazy, right?
But in a lot of cases, even the reasonable lefties, their problem with me is something that I'm not going to be able to apologize for, because they think the problem inherently, like, fuck all the context with the boat and shit. They think the problem is that I'm against illegal immigration, and I still am. Like, I don't think those boats should be going through the Mediterranean. I think that people are drowning because of that, and they should probably have a policy similar to Australia, where they're like, no, you go through the proper refugee migrant process. Otherwise, we get increased drownings, illegal trafficking. Like, we don't know who the people coming
man, I'm going full in.
People drown if you don't rescue them when they fucking. I know. I don't want to get into this argument with you, Lauren.
Okay, well, I really think people should look into the data on that, because there is a pull factor. And this is why Australia put the 0 boats allowed in policy, because their drownings went down to 0 when there was no more pull factor for traffickers. So there is a pull factor there.
But there's ways.
We're wrapping this one up. We're moving on to the next.
You could have advocated for that while like not stopping the boat that's going to save people from drowning, right? Like, if your thing is you don't want them to drown, it doesn't start.
That's a complex question too.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. These are all complex, because was it a boat that was going to save people? Maritime laws are that if anyone is near a boat that is drowning, any ships out in the Mediterranean, you have to go and save them, NGO or not. You have to go and help them. And then when you follow maritime law, you have to take them to the closest port of safety. So why the Aquarius was under investigation and why it was ultimately shut down and impounded for illegal actions is, first of all, they were under investigation by the Italians for going on the coast and working as a trafficking service, not a rescue service. So instead of bringing them to the closest port in Libya and Morocco, they were accused of bringing them to Spain, which is clearly what was happening, or Spain or Italy. And then also the whole ship and operation was just operating illegally, which is why it was shut down. They were dropping toxic waste in the Mediterranean. I think it had like HIV on it. I think it was like tons of it, 10 tons of it. It was crazy.
10 tons of HIV.
So these were,
that's
did
crazy.
I just hear
HIV infected like clothing and stuff. They
I'm
were
messing
dumping
with
it into
you.
You can look this up.
It did sound funny.
10 tons of HIV. They were dropping into the
All right. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I feel as though I've seen enough here. Okay. Because we have other based shit that we need to talk about. David Arias, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Have you watched Vic Berger's political vids? They're awesome to watch. Hi. Oh boy, maybe I'll have to check that out sometime. All right. Now, much to the conservatives' dismay. Oh, wait a second. Much to everyone's dismay, we're not able to jump into this yet because I got to change the title first. Or else I'm going to get in trouble. All right. Okay. Now I've changed my Twitch stuff because I have to keep on switching around. Twitch is a little bit more particular with that. All right. So, much to the conservatives' dismay, the officer who shot Ashley Babbitt has spoken out, and it's not looking great for them after this interview. They're very mad about it, as you can guess. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Out on the internet, but you've never been officially publicly identified. Do you want to tell us who you are?
My name is Michael Byrd. I'm a lieutenant for the United States Capitol Police.
For months, he has lived in hiding, he says, over this moment. His decision to use deadly force against a rioter as she climbed through a barricaded door that leads to the House chamber. In the months since, he's been...
So this is the man who shot Ashley Babbitt during the historical storming of the Capitol. We can see the clip here. There's no violence or anything shown, really. It just is a gun being fired. You don't actually see anything else. But he goes on to explain how this man was guarding the final barrier between these Capitol rioters and the House of Representatives.
His decision to use deadly force against a rioter as she climbed through a barricaded door that leads to the House chamber. In the months since, he's been the target of threats. Could you give us the nature of some of those threats?
They talked about, killing me, cutting off my head.
Shit.
Very vicious and cruel things.
Racist things?
There were some racist attacks as well. It's all disheartening.
He goes right for it. I feel like that part of the interview is really awkward. The right is going to tear that dude apart. Yeah, they are. They are so mad at him already. It's really strange because conservatives, they're mad. They're mad AF about this. Matt Walsh, all those chuckle fucks are suddenly up here pretending to give a fuck about police brutality. It's so hilarious. It's like the hypocrisy is just transparent. When it's George Floyd, he's a criminal. Who cares? When it's Capitol rioter, how dare the police brutality? It's painfully transparent.
Because I know I was doing my job.
Given the nature of the threats that you describe, do you have any concern about showing your face and identifying yourself?
Of course I do. That is a very vital point, and it's something that is frightening. I believe I showed the utmost courage on January 6th, and it's time for me to do that now.
Responsible that day for securing the House chambers, Byrd couldn't see what Americans were witnessing on their TVs, but he could hear it in the pleas from other officers. Were you afraid that day?
I was very afraid.
What are you hearing on your radio?
I'm hearing about the breaches of different barricaded areas, officers being overrun, officers being down.
Did you ever hear a call or a report of shots fired during any of this?
As a matter of fact, I did. There was reports of shots fired through the House main door onto the floor of the chamber.
Later, those reports would prove to be false. This video captures Byrd instructing members of Congress to don gas masks.
That's unfortunate because there was a lot of confusion that day, we all knew that, but it's unfortunate the way that translated to him being under the impression that shots had already been fired as well.
We had a disbursement of tear gas in the rotunda. Please be advised there are masks under your seats.
He says officers barricaded the door, what he considered the last line of defense.
I had been yelling and screaming as loud as I was, please stop, get back, stop. We had our weapons drawn.
There's a gun! There's a gun!
Byrd, only his hand and gun visible, targeted a figure trying to climb through a window. He fired a single, fatal shot, hitting Ashley Babbitt. She was 35 years old, an Air Force veteran, Trump supporter, and QAnon follower.
Here's the thing. If this were an Antifa member, right, conservatives would literally, like, I know what they'd be saying. It would be, play stupid games, get stupid prizes, kid. Huh? Yeah, one less Antifa member. They were trying to attack our elected officials. There's the violent terrorist group. Like, we would never hear the end of it if this was Antifa. I see someone in my chat saying, hold on, let me find it. Hunter, stop. The hypocrisy is the same on the left. Mourn for Floyd, laugh at Babbitt. Now, I wouldn't laugh at Babbitt. I'm not laughing at her. It's sad that she died, of course, but no one says that all police brutality at all times is unjustified. What happened with George Floyd was unwarranted. He was restrained on the ground, and they continued to put pressure on his neck. In this instance, a cop who had misinformation communicated to him from his radio from another officer, somehow the wrong information that shots had already been fired had been relayed to him. You have an officer here whose job is to guard this chamber and to protect elected officials. And then you have a woman breaking in amongst the rioters. You don't know if they're armed. And the thing is conservatives would make these same fucking arguments if it was an Antifa member. So yeah, just to be clear, there's probably is some hypocrisy on the left somewhere, but like, as far as I'm concerned, some police brutality, well, I guess police brutality kind of implies that, does that imply that, like, hold on, like a misuse of force? Because that's not true. But sometimes, yeah, okay, hold on. Yikes. I'm gonna get fucking, yeah, I'm gonna get super clipped. Okay, let me correct myself there. Police brutality is defined as like excessive and unwarranted use of force. So sometimes police officers need to act in a way, they need to exercise lethal force. That's what I should have said originally. But yeah, when it comes to this, like, you mourn for one, that's because what happened with George Floyd was police brutality was unwarranted. And what happened here was warranted. Even more so, there was an investigation done, just like there was an investigation done and a court proceedings and everything else with George Floyd case that found Chauvin guilty. There was also an investigation which found Officer Byrd's use of lethal force warranted. The focus of the criminal investigation was to determine whether federal prosecutors could prove that the officer violated any federal laws, concentrating on the possible application of one of the code's Federal Criminal Civil Rights Statute. In order to establish a violation of this statute, prosecutors must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer acted willfully to deprive Miss Babbitt of a right protected by the Constitution or other law. Here, the Fourth Amendment. Right, not to be subjected to an unreasonable seizure. Okay, that makes sense. The investigation revealed no evidence to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer willfully committed a violation. Specifically, the investigation revealed no evidence to establish that at the time the officer fired a single shot at Miss Babbitt, the officer did not reasonably believe that it was necessary to do so in self-defense or in defense of the members of Congress and others evacuating the House chamber. So there was an investigation done here, and this is what the conclusion came to. It was a warranted use of force.
We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
I was taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
When you fired, what could you see? Where were you aiming?
You're taught to aim for center mass. The subject was sideways, and I could not see her full motion of her hands or anything. So I guess her movement, caused the discharge to fall where it did.
And what did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat to the United States House of Representatives.
But an attorney for Ashley Babbitt's family disputes that. He did not respond to our request for a comment, but in a previous statement said Babbitt was not brandishing a weapon, not in close proximity to members of Congress, and was not an imminent threat of death or serious injury to anyone. Her family.
So, of course, the response there would be that you literally have no way of knowing whether or not they're armed. I mean, the Capitol's been breached by a group of armed rioters for the most part. Now, not all of them, but some of them were absolutely armed. So you really don't have any way of knowing. Of course, Ashley Babbitt's defense is going to argue from that position, but we see the Department of Justice investigation, and it seems to have vindicated him or otherwise ruled that it was warranted use of force.
Points out that she was not armed.
That's correct.
The fact that you weren't aware whether she was armed or not, did that alter the decision making?
It did not.
What should we make of the fact that there were other officers in other potentially life-threatening situations who didn't use their service weapons that day?
I'm sure it was a terrifying situation. I can only control my reaction, my training, my level of expertise. That would be upon them to speak for themselves.
Former President Trump has talked about you and this incident.
Listen up,
he says she was murdered. What does it feel like to hear that from a former president?
Well, it's disheartening. If he was in the room or anywhere and I'm responsible for him, I was prepared to do the same thing for him and his family.
Would you have his back today if you were so assigned?
I sure would, because it's my job.
Multiple investigations have now upheld Byrd's actions on January 6th. Capitol Police in there.
So yeah, just really tragic chain of events. Like, if you think about it, that woman, Ashley Babbitt, she was deceived. She was led, like, astray, kind of, in a way. She was lied to, grifted. It is sad. It really is. Like, Donald Trump, more or less, grifted this woman to death. All right, I'm calling this guy up. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Yes, I can. You're gonna respect the rules and everything. Like, you're not gonna use any slurs and shit like that. And you're not a troll just here to get on the call by making bullshit up in my Discord?
No, I thought some people might either think that or that you would have immediately banned me for that. So
okay, so I'll read your message and then you can start. The COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast, and once one receives the chip, they lose their soul. Nothing has led me to believe otherwise, considering the flip-flopping of the government and health officials. All right, cool. So, you first.
It's a lot of things, and it's a lot of things in a short text of speech. But if you look at when they first came out with masks, people were wearing them in other places that get infections for a long time, Hong Kong. So this isn't new to the COVID virus. This is from any virus that's been going on. COVID might be a new virus, but it is a virus nonetheless. So the effectiveness of masks, which initially, before lockdowns and everything, they started saying those weren't effective. Don't wear them. There's no point. It's not. They use the excuse a lot that
if you don't mind me cutting you off really quickly, and I apologize because this is going to sound like a completely unrelated question, but I do have to ask, Did you by any chance vote for Donald Trump? If you did, I'm not going to shit on you or anything else. I'm just curious.
Well, I'm Canadian, so no, and I wouldn't have either.
Okay. I
wouldn't have voted for Biden though. I'm a Canadian, but I didn't like either of them at the end.
Okay, that's fair enough. So you're right that there were some inconsistencies there at the beginning, but those inconsistencies have since been very publicly addressed. I'm sure you've heard the response as to why there was that flip-flop. As we know, Fauci was, and listen, I don't actually agree with the use of this type of tactic necessarily, but you have to understand that people were buying out toilet paper just because it was spreading on the internet about COVID and everything else. So that alone, like, it's obvious that information is going to spur large buyouts of certain products. So part of the reason that Fauci didn't really address it or said otherwise that they weren't really that effective is so that they wouldn't be bought out by consumers. Now, I will agree with you that
right, and to be fair, that's what a lot of us figured. A lot of people who might be hesitant, that they had good reason to, sort of conceal their original statements. But when you have a little bit of deception, you can sort of understand why it makes us really concerned for what could be hidden from the COVID vaccine.
Why? This was one inconsistency that was like not particularly has been very directly addressed and ameliorated. We know why they said the thing about the masks. I don't agree with those tactics, really. I think that you're right, that it does hurt their credibility and it does make it seem like they're being deceptive. But even so, this doesn't even translate to the vaccines necessarily. This, you could argue, was Dr. Fauci being inconsistent. The vaccines are going through the FDA, the CDC, the World Health Organization. This is a whole conglomeration here.
Like a conspiracy, a cohort of people.
No, I'm saying they're all working. They all are like affirming this data. Yeah, that's not a conspiracy. That's what they're doing.
Conspiring to do something. When I say I aspire, I conspire. But that's beside the point. It's spiritual. If you look at Revelation 16, which is why I said it being the mark of the beast, that says no man may buy or sell unless they have the mark on their hand or on the forehead, the number of the beast. Now, it's not that the vaccine, I should have maybe worded that better. It's that what will come with it is a part of that mark of the beast.
What does this have to? I thought the mark of the beast is supposed to define I thought it's going to be like, since it is the mark of the beast, then like Christians cannot get it because that would be like
exactly
contradicting your God's will, right? But like, what's the proof that the vaccine is the mark of the beast? If anything, couldn't you argue that maybe God has provided us with the medical technology to develop protection
I'm not
against the virus?
Vaccine in general. I've taken other vaccines, the flu shot, the Tdap.
Okay, so this just makes your opinion look even more delusional.
mRNA. This is an what's that?
This makes your opinion look even more delusional then, because you're just against COVID vaccine.
See, that makes more sense, and I don't know how you finding that delusional to me is a little hilarious, because
I just want to know why you think that what makes this the mark of the beast?
The mRNA, a couple of things. You have to understand the system of the beast, and then you understand that the mark is part of their system, which is the COVID passport has more significance to proving that the mark is the chip. Because it will be mandatory and implemented, and no one will buy or sell unless they have it.
So I literally did one little lookup here from BibleOdyssey.org, reading about how it's actually become quite common, and especially in recent decades. It literally says right here, conspiracy-minded individuals who combine idiosyncratic interpretations of the Bible with fears that evil governmental or religious forces are overtaking society have variously interpreted 666 as a reference to the United Nations, some president of the United States, the Washington Monument, and the European Union. So throughout history, we have seen no offense,
They
buddy.
were wrong, though.
No. But no offense to you, but like throughout history, we've seen lunatics make these kind of claims that like, this is the mark of the beast. This is the mark of the beast. The point of the mark of the beast is that it is a direct
system.
No, it's a direct proclamation that you are like a child of Satan. That contradicts Christianity. This we don't see happening with the vaccine. The vaccine has nothing to do with Christianity.
Not yet. This is a part. All of this has been prophesized. This is just the beginning of the.
Hello?
Oh, I cut off there.
Okay, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, I said that this is just the beginning of the system they're implementing. This is one part of the beast system.
So is that just you? You want to walk me through that one a little bit more? What do you mean the beast system?
Right, that the Whore of Babylon, all of that it brings in. Mm-hmm. It's all. I'd have to get the pamphlet that I had, but it's all been foretold when you read in Revelation 16 to 18.
Okay, let's look it up.
And also, if you look at Mark's, we'll start with Revelations.
All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and look up Revelation.
Let me get
16.
my Bible here.
All right, you get your Bible, buddy. The 7 bowls of God's wrath. Then I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, "Go, pour out the 7 bowls of God's wrath on the earth." The first angel went and poured out his bowl on the land, and ugly festering sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. Okay, so these are punishments for people that already took the mark of the beast.
Right, that's what's going to happen to people who get the COVID.
Wait, no, you can't say that the COVID vaccine has been prophesized in the Bible and then point me to something and say, this is what's going to happen that the Bible said after you get the COVID vaccine. What? No, you can't do that, buddy.
Once you have sold your soul, you can't. I mean,
where is the Bible foretold this?
It's not through the literal interpretation of it.
Okay, so you're inferring then from what you're reading, you're interpreting it yourself, that this is talking about the vaccine. You are interpreting that the vaccine.
Not me necessarily, but the people who understand this better than I do.
Okay, so those people have convinced you, so you yourself also believe that the vaccine is the beginning of this, right? But it's nowhere in the Bible. You're not able to point me to that. I'm wondering
when you understand the meaning that you might not understand yourself.
But don't you realize that you're inferring what the mark of the beast or the beginning of the beast system is, and you're inferring that this is the fucking vaccine. But the problem is
on the evidence.
Hold on, but
as relayed by the Bible experts.
Right, I know, but the problem is if you want to look historically. You and the Bible experts and people like you have consistently been wrong and consistently used the mark of the beast as an excuse, more or less, to fill some kind of conspiratorial idea. So what I'm asking you really is, do you think that maybe it really has nothing to do with the Bible? Maybe you just don't want to take the vaccine and we should just talk about that?
Well, maybe for other people it is, but for me, I'm fine. I have nothing against vaccines, but to me, losing my soul and burning in hell for all eternity, which is what I've understood would happen, that to me is worth anything else that could happen. Whether someone
but you haven't established that's what's going to happen if you take the vaccine.
I have. I've seen
you told me to look at Revelations. You said it was going to be predicted, but.
That wasn't the quotes I read were taken from Revelations.
Okay,
it's not this isn't my thesis or my opinion.
It is your opinion. Don't try to wait. It's okay. You don't need to walk back on it. This is your opinion. I know that I know you get your information from other people too.
Not my created opinion. It's my opinion. But what I'm trying to say is that. It's not that I came up with this idea that shaped my opinion. It's my opinion I'm not the only one who believes this.
I know you're not. That's the problem.
It's not my
So
opinion.
I'm asking, ultimately,
I don't
since
own the patent.
you're not really able to give me any substantial argument or anywhere even in the Bible that it even
It's
really
not just the Bible. The Bible is just one little thing on the whole thing of text. I'd have to give you all the either videos that I've seen or the pamphlets I was given, or you can read the Epoch Times where it mentions all of the timeline of things. If you want to read something specific. But as for the videos, we're talking about 20, 30 hours of things just to get you started.
I know. Okay. I don't need to watch like 30 hours of YouTube videos. I understand.
You would to get my opinion.
No, I generally think I understand. And I think that I can see through the complexity. I don't know. I think maybe I'm not big-brained enough to understand this. Or I think that I can see through that this whole conspiracy-minded, it's the mark of the beast, combined with the religion thing. This is a classic thing that has happened throughout history, and you're just another sucker in the line falling for it. And truthfully, I think that you might have some fears about the vaccine other than religious concerns. And I think that you might have fears about the vaccine, the consistency, maybe the inconsistency, the World Health Organization, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that you're using this biblical conspiratorial BS to sort of mask your more genuine fears. Help me out, am I right?
I've known people that have taken it. So I'm not afraid of the vaccine. I'm not afraid of needles, anything like that. Or I'm afraid of losing my soul ultimately, which could be a risk. It's like saying you could walk into the woods and get shot by someone if you dress up like a deer, but you might not. Even though that'll never happen, that's like a crazy thing that no one would ever do, or a scenario. You might lose your soul. It's just like I say to atheists. If you don't believe in God, the punishment would be hell. So if I was wrong on this and I did take it, imagine if I woke up in hell.
What if actually the vaccine is the like defense against the mark of the beast? What if the mark of the beast is COVID-19? COVID-19, like if you wanted to, we could go ahead and look at right here, the 7 bowels of God's wrath. Let's see. What are some of the symptoms here? Ugly festering sores. I guess we're not really seeing that with COVID-19, but it's still disease.
COVID-19 is
still
also
hitting people.
Maybe COVID-19 is all. What's that?
Maybe COVID-19 is actually the mark of the beast.
It is 7 letters.
There you go.
And
it makes don't you see, dude? It makes perfect sense.
Right.
Dude, God, wait, stop. No, wait. You just made a really good point. God has provided us with the vaccine. The vaccine is the defense against the mark of the beast. Don't you see? So you should get the vaccine to protect yourself against the mark of the beast. Does that make sense?
A vaccine against the mark of the beast. I've never heard of that.
But there you go. You just said it yourself that COVID-19 is 7 letters or whatever, right? Isn't that symbolic?
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go.
I'll have to think. I'll have to think about that. Yeah.
All right, but earlier you were saying stuff like, well, it's an mRNA vaccine, yada yada. Like,
that's right, because it changes your DNA. That which takes away that's a part of the soul taking process.
So that's not true, actually. If it's my understanding, the mRNA vaccine. You know what? I can actually, just for you, buddy, I'll pull this up because I have a. Hold on. Let's see. I have a little explanation here for how it works. Okay.
Okay.
Unlike vaccines that put a weakened or inactivated disease germ into the body, so those vaccines you're okay with, the Pfizer mRNA vaccine delivers a tiny piece of genetic code from COVID virus to host cells in the body, essentially giving those cells instructions or blueprints for making copies of spike proteins.
Instructions. You see, there you go. It's coded.
Okay.
These are coded.
Stop, please. Are you trolling me right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You're not here to troll
me. I'm trying to listen. I'm genuinely trying to.
I'm trying to explain to you how this works, and it's not code word for giving you demon blueprints or something. What this is giving you your cells instructions for how to protect your body against COVID-19. And that's why right now, according to phase 3 clinical data presented in December, the vaccine has a 95% efficacy. It is extremely effective at stopping or slowing the spread of COVID-19. So what I need to understand is this. If this, let's say hypothetically that you're right, okay, that this is the mark of the beast, or the beginning of it, right?
Okay.
Which would mean that it would be against God to get the vaccine. Am I correct in that assertion? Like if you were correct, if this was the beginning of the mark of the beast, wouldn't it technically be like against God? It's not God's will for you to take that vaccine.
So you're saying as in COVID is the plague, and basically this is countering that in a sense.
No. What I'm saying is that hypothetically, let's say that I say that you are correct in your assertion that the vaccine is actually the beginning of the mark of the beast.
Right.
So let's say that I tell you for the sake of this argument that you're actually correct. My question to you would be, why would God, or why would a vaccine that protects you against a virus, why would that be against God? Doesn't God want his people, his creation to live?
Because Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light.
That's true, but I'm asking you.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is this
that
thing
the vaccine
could be good?
If you believe that the vaccine is the beginning of the mark of the beast, then why does
the vaccine is deceived, because it's just like I said, how Satan can deceive himself as an angel of light.
So is Satan deceiving himself? Is Satan deceiving us with these data points here?
That the data is obviously good or bad, or how I don't see the data, but let's just, whatever data you're referring to,
Pfizer's initial phase 3 clinical data.
It's manipulated either way to work. It could be, if under the system, that it could be as part of the deception because of.
So what do you have to say about the other studies that aren't done as well, that are still like mentioned in this report here from Yale Medicine, where it talks about the vaccine not really having that great of a defense after a little while? If all the data was manipulated, wouldn't it all kind of say the same thing?
It might have been written by someone who wasn't a part of the agenda.
So do you realize how no matter what I say, everything sort of plays in line with this sort of like conspiracy narrative that you've like concocted? Like this is like a real life, like I feel like
I haven't concocted it.
You have. Like I'm listening to a real life Star Trek episode right now. I'm watching the X-Files in real time. This is like
but the X-Files did predict a lot of things. In the last season, they talked about how they took the vaccines. You can look this up.
Okay, I don't care about the X-Files. What I'm saying is that like you don't really seem to have any support for these arguments. I'm wondering if there's something else, maybe another reason why you don't really want to get the vaccine. Is there like, you mentioned the inconsistency with the health officials. Now that that's cleared up, it seems like all you have left is this sort of conspiracy right here.
It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't understand spirituality and the unseen realm.
Explain it to me just simply. Explain it to me in the most simple way that you can, in the way that you understand it. You don't have to.
You know, when you get a very strong spiritual feeling that this is the right or wrong opinion.
No.
To the point, yes, it's a physical feeling.
So then I would say that this is bad, because then I would say that what you're doing is justifying this uncomfortable gut feeling you're having by saying that it's actually God or the Holy Spirit compelling you to feel this way. And that ultimately just justifies the argument that you can put feelings over facts. I might have a really uncomfortable feeling about riding on an airplane. Okay, I don't personally like flying. I get really scared flying in an airplane. But you know what? I do it anyway because it's irrational to not ride an airplane just because I'm afraid, just because I feel that way, because statistically the likelihood of me dying in an airplane crash, it's non-existent.
But it is there.
But there are risks everywhere. Then do you drive a car?
No, I don't.
Are you here to troll me?
No, I'm not. What, because I don't drive?
How old are you?
That's not relevant.
Okay.
Anyway, as I was saying,
are your parents telling you these things?
That wouldn't matter either way.
Do you want me to call CPS? Do you want to put your dad on? I'll talk to him.
See, this is what you're doing. You're deflecting.
All right, I'm sorry. You're right. You backed me into a corner. I didn't know how to respond. I resorted to debate tactics. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go back to let's
the lack of spirituality.
You're right. There's a demon in my heart right now. But let's go back to talking a little bit. Do you want to try to explain to me a little bit how in your mind this all works together to be the beginning of the mark of the beast?
Because as I said with the airplane, let's get back on track.
Okay.
As I said with the airplane, might be an astronomically low risk that this is going to happen, but the risk is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the risk of losing your soul and burning in hell for all eternity for taking
realize? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
The risk for taking the COVID vaccine with all of that, even though it could be non-existent, imagine losing your soul is eternal. That to me is more of a danger than COVID.
Have you ever taken any kind of like cold medication or like allergy medicine, like you get a cold or something? Ever?
Like what? Like aspirin or Tylenol?
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Have you ever taken like Tylenol or aspirin or anything? Like if you get a headache?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so then you just contradicted every single thing that you just said. So let me explain.
I take a lot of I took all of my vaccines.
Let me explain to you though, because if we operated in any other way in our life, the way that you are operating here with the vaccine, we wouldn't be able to even live our lives. There's not a 100% chance of anything in this world. Every time you take a Tylenol, there is a small chance that can cause liver failure. There is. I can send you studies on that if you want. But yet, you know that it's a small enough chance that you're willing to assess that the benefits of this thing outweigh the risks of this thing. So then you take the aspirin or you take the Tylenol. If we operated the way that
the risks also, you are right in theory, but when you're dealing with the matter of the soul, that's a much more significant and greater thing than losing your kidneys or losing your health, because life is short.
But you realize that this is even more concerning, because we don't even you don't have a 100% chance that there's even a heaven or that there's even a hell. No one has a 100% knowledge of anything.
But there is the risk of the hell.
But there's also the risk that there's nothing and that you're now going to cut your life short.
Well, even if there was
just because you fell into some conspiratorial nonsense that it sounds like your dad told you.
No, my mother actually, but that's beside the point.
Do you want to put your mom on? I'll talk to her about this because this sounds really dangerous. Do you need me to call like CPS? Are you good?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm teasing. I went off into the debate tactics came back again. Sorry. But I don't really, the thing is that I don't really know how to argue because I genuinely am like, I'm not saying this just as a rhetorical thing. Like genuinely, I'm a little bit concerned for you because it sounds like you are actually delusional. And I'm not saying that as like attacking you. I don't think that you are, I don't think you have to be delusional. I think you have the ability to not be delusional. But I think that what you're saying right now and what you're talking about, how this is the mark of the beast, it does not make sense. Not only are you not able to point me to any example in the Bible where this is even like supported even slightly. I don't even know where you can fucking infer this from the Bible, first of all. Second of all, it seems to contradict God's ultimate will, right? Like if God's will is for us, I don't know. I guess you would have to decide what God's will would be, which I guess would be whatever would happen. But it seems like, I don't know, it seems controversial.
I should make it clear that at least, I do everything in my power to protect myself. I wear the mask. I use hand sanitizer if that makes you feel better. So I do know COVID is real. I know there's some crazy people who actually don't believe that, but I know COVID is real. So I do take every measure in my capability to protect myself from either contracting or giving it to people.
So COVID's real, but the vaccine part is fake?
it might not be fake. The vaccine's obviously a real thing. It's not poof in your imaginary head. That would be crazy.
No, but like, the vaccine is the mark of the beast. So is it like the Satanist plan was to get all of the all the doctors to affirm this during COVID? Was that like kind of the subversive decision there?
Before that, I think this was in the plans for 2030, some long time, way before either of us were born.
So this has been like, okay. So this is like the end times?
Yes, exactly. That's it.
This is my exact issue though, is because people have been saying it's the end times forever.
But they didn't have COVID.
But they had the Spanish flu. They had the Black Death. They had the plague. They had way worse shit than COVID. What do you mean?
They had more. There was more spirituality then.
What do you mean? Some of them, like at the times, were burning witches, people that they thought were witches, right? Like, what do you mean?
I can't really put that together myself, but I just know that it was different.
Do you think that maybe it's just that you are kind of seeing that the current moment that you live in as being like very unique, even though generally speaking, like COVID's not nearly as bad as like the plague or the black flu or whatever the fuck it was called? Do you think that that's a possibility?
Oh, of course. Everything in your life feels, but this is by far the most far-reaching, even though in terms of numbers, but in terms of its globalized effect. And Satan has having dominion over the earth.
But why would Satan be the one delivering the medicine in this case? Wasn't Jesus like the healer?
Because he's concealing, Satan is physically concealing himself as an angel of light, possibly in the form of the COVID vaccine. The vaccine may very well do good things.
How do you know it's the Satan? How do you know it's Satan disguising himself in light? What if it actually is a blessing from God that America was the first to develop this revolutionary vaccine in record time, and now we're able to deliver it around the world? This is a biblical tendency right here. God was like the creator. He was the healer, right?
Everything is ultimately created by God.
I'm just asking that it seems really strange that Satan would be the one delivering the vaccine. Why would Satan be the one who was delivering the cure? Satan doesn't heal people.
He delivered Adam and Eve to the garden. He tempted Adam and Eve in the garden with an apple. That was something good you eat.
Does Satan have the ability to heal?
Yes, he could. But he does it for evil reasons. If he chose to do it.
Let's see. I don't know. I can't look this up on the fly. But it's just, I think that you need to...
It's more of the Antichrist, which is part of the end times, that COVID is a part of the Mark of the Beast and the Antichrist. And
I know. There's the Mark of the Beast.
Evil.
I know. There's the Mark of the Beast. There's the
Leviathan.
Armageddon. There's the Antichrist. There's the fake Christ. Dude, honestly,
the main thing is
listen.
At
the end of the day, hold on. At the end of the day, this conversation's over because I cannot take another plot twist here in this never-ending X-Files episode.
Yeah.
What I will say though is that I really think, buddy,
so I can understand that.
No, it's wrong. It's not that it's complicated. It's that it's delusional and it's completely factually wrong and doesn't have any basis in reality. You're not able to actually substantiate any of your claims. All you're saying is that it's the Mark of the Beast because my mom told me so. That's pretty much that's what I'm walking away here with this conversation here. So I'm not saying this as a joke, but seriously, I really think you need to get help. And I would also ask, if you want to put your mom on, I'd be happy to talk to her as well.
She's not here.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Thank you for having me though, and not banning me.
Sure, man. Just take a break from the InfoWars, all right?
Okay. Bye.
If there's a God, I'm praying. If God is real, I'm praying for that guy. Oh my God. All right, hold on one second. Guys, yo, if you're tuning in and enjoying this stream, then consider putting something into the super chats. I do appreciate the donations. Nathan K, thanks for the $2. Chronologically, the mark comes after the rapture. Oh, really? Jordan Strenstrom, thank you for the $5. Have you ever considered playing Civ 6 on stream? It would be a great game to play while talking politics. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check it out. Bibbles Logan, thanks for the $5. Has he eaten pork? Is he aware that some religious views are that all drugs prevent entry into heaven? Yeah, there's a fuck ton of contradiction there. It doesn't make sense. All right, chat, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, okay? I gotta go pee really quick. I'll be back, all right? All right. Why is it that it's literally become a meme that like people say like Hunter only debates 15-year-olds when it's like it's not what I'm trying to do. It's just people call in and the next thing they know, I'm having a great conversation with someone who's sounds like a kook. Kali Wally, thanks for the $5. This guy is one of the many reasons why social conservatism is an outdated and dangerous ideology. Yeah, it really is. That's a good point. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, that's right. So InfoWars, they've been kind of imploding. First, we had Alex Jones turning on Donald Trump over the vaccine. Now, Owen Schroyer, apparently he's taken a break from wrecking the libs, and now he's getting wrecked by the FBI. Conspiracy site InfoWars host Owen Schroyer accused of role in January 6th riot at U.S. Capitol. Let's see. He was charged Thursday with violent and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds and entering a restricted area without authority. Both misdemeanors. There's a lot of questions. Some I have answers to, some I don't. I plan on declaring innocence of these charges because I am, Schroyer said. Sure. Hold on, wait. Isn't there a video here? Yeah. According to the complaint, videos reviewed by federal investigators showed Schroyer marching to the Capitol shortly before the grounds were breached by Trump supporters who were attempting to delay the certification of votes from the 2020 presidential election. In one video, Schroyer can be heard telling the crowd, "Today we march for the Capitol because on this historic January 6th, we have to let our congressmen and women know, and we have to let Mike Pence know. They stole the election. We know they stole it, and we aren't going to accept it." Oh my God. In a video filmed in Washington shortly after the rioting, Jones said he was asked by the White House to lead the march to the Capitol 3 days before the event. He also said he paid close to $500,000 to book the... What's this? Oh, the park where Trump supporters initially gathered. Damn. So, Owen Schroyer, there he is right here. Hey, buddy. Looks like this guy's getting wrecked. Poor guy. Not. It's called personal responsibility, biatch. Get over it. That guy's one of the many reasons why social conservatives been out there. Yeah. All right. I actually am kind of curious. Is the devil able to miraculously heal people? The Bible also speaks of another spirit who is the arch enemy of God and humanity. He's known as by a number of names, including Satan and the devil. Among other things, we're told that he counterfeits the truth of God. Okay. This brings up a crucial question. Does the devil have the ability to heal the sick? The God of the Bible is the only one who heals the sick. To begin with, it is God alone who heals the sick. The Bible is clear on this matter. Nowhere are healing miracles specifically attributed to the devil. There is something else we must take note of. While the Bible specifically says that the Lord alone heals the sick and infirmed, we never find any specific reference in Scripture of Satan or the devil healing someone who is sick or infirmed. Never. The healing miracles of God were always for a purpose. Every time we find a miraculous healing in the Bible, it's always for a distinct purpose. So no one's ever healed for the sake of healing them. This can be illustrated with the question that John the Baptist addressed to Jesus from John. Genuine miracle working ability belongs to him and him alone. Can Satan give medicine? I don't know. What? Let's see. The devil in prescription medicines. God. I don't know if this is the case. Maybe I should send that to that kid. Dark Aether, what's up? Hello, how are you today? Give you a second here because she's probably a little backed up. Hello. All right, maybe another time. Okay. God literally screws with people just to prove a point. God ruin a man's life just to prove a point to Satan. That's true. Yeah, there's some pretty screwed up stuff. Satan works in mysterious ways. Exactly. That's how it be, you know? So how's everyone doing today? Y'all feeling okay? Because we're about to watch a pretty dark-ass video that I've been wanting to watch.
Mum, daughter, smiles and dances is what Nicola and 3-year-old Kaylee Jade Priest would present to the world on TikTok. A normal mother and daughter having a laugh through the pandemic, trying to make most of what time they had together during lockdown. Once the cameras...
So credit to, this is like, I'm being total React Andy here, I know. Ape Huncho made this video, recently went viral, and now I'm watching it.
Turned off, however, a grim reality away from the smiles would soon begin.
Oh shit. Is there supposed to be audio here? Did something break?
Mum,
why
daughter...
was I just like suddenly not hearing audio? Wait. Is there no audio?
Going to be killed in a home.
Okay. The fuck? That completely threw me off. Dark Aether. Hello, it says that you're here. How are you doing today? Please. How come every time I pull you in the voice chat, you're suddenly not here? All right, I'm going to call this kid back really quickly. Let him know what I just read. I'm going to send this to him. From Blue Letter Bible. Hello? All right. No audio. I know. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody that tuned in.